Scooby-Doo, Frankencreepy, with Madelyn, by Ellis97. One thing on your minds is that, why wasn't Madelyn in Frankencreepy? Well, here's my version on the movie, but with Madelyn. Velma is brainwashed by the evil Dinkley curse, and now it's up to Scooby-Doo, Shaggy, and Madelyn to save the day and solve the mystery. Chapter 1. Madelyn gets a message. It had been several months since Scooby-Doo and his friends helped Velma Dinkley's kid sister, Madelyn, solve the Griffin mystery in Whirlin' Merlin's magic school. Now, Madelyn is an apprentice magician and is amazing at it. Yep, Madelyn really missed her big sister and her friends. She especially missed her dreamboat, Shaggy Rogers. Madelyn loved Shaggy more than anything. Every time she saw him, she would scream like crazy and hug him till his eyes popped out. She enjoyed being a magician and all, but really wanted to see her sis again. Until one day, somebody knocked on her door. She answered it. There was a man there. "Hi," she said. "How can I help you? Are you Madelyn Dinkley?" He said. "Yes," she answered. "Who are you?" "My name is Cuthbert Crawley. I am your family's new layer. I've got something I must give you and your sister, Velma," he replied. "Velma," she said. "Yes, you must come with me at once." He said, "Okay," she said. Madelyn took the paper from the man's hand. "It says that me and Velma are the heirs of our great-great-uncle's haunted castle in Transylvania, Pennsylvania. I didn't even know there was a Transylvania in Pennsylvania." "Believe me, baby, there sure is," Mr. Crawley said. "You've also been invited to join your sister in celebration of her inheritance." "With my sister," said Madelyn. "Awesome! So will you come?" said Crawley. "Well, I guess I could take a vacation," said Madelyn. "Then it's settled then." Mr. Crawley said, "I'll see you at the castle in 1 week. Good day." As Crawley left, Madelyn started packing her bags. "I can't wait to see Velma again," she said. "I'm always so excited to see my big sister. And plus, wherever she goes, the gang goes. And wherever the gang goes, Shaggy goes. So he'll be there. So double awesome." "Yes, double awesome indeed," said Crawley with an evil smile. Madelyn was jumping for joy when she saw the phone on her drawer. Madelyn thought, "I should call them up. After all, they'd be so happy to see me." She picked up the phone and dialed Velma's phone number. She got the machine. "Hey, Velma, it's me, Madelyn. I'm coming home." "See ya, sis," said Madelyn. And she was off. The next day she was in Coolsville, on her way to Crawley's law office. Meanwhile, back in Coolsville, Ohio, about many, many miles away to be exact, Velma and her friends were doing webcast. It was her best friend, Daphne Blake, who started it. It was called Jeepers, It's Daphne. In said webcast, they recap all of their adventures recently. "I heard that you're responsible for breaking up the greatest band in history, the Alex Super Experience," he said. "Is that true?" "It sure is. Alex Superfan 2112. It all started when the band accidentally conjured up the ghost of Mambo Wamba, a freaky voodoo witch doctor." "Oh, look, we have a live video chat," said Daphne. It was Fred Jones, the leader of the gang. "Hey, Daphne," Fred said over the screen. "Oh, hi, Freddie," Daphne said back. "Great show. I just wanted to point out that as Velma has taught us again and again, there's no such thing as ghosts. Mambo Wamba here only pretended to be an otherworldly witch doctor. He was really a music producer who got performer Lila to pretend to be a zombie in order to steal a potentially lucrative pop song," Fred explained. "That's amazing," Daphne awkwardly said. "Oh, wait, what?" said the rock dude. Then Shaggy and Scooby joined the webcast. "Oh, hey, Daph," said Shaggy. "Shaggy, Scooby," said Daphne. "But I think the musical case was the one with the green phantoms, wasn't it?" said Shaggy. "Oh, yeah. They were really creeps and crawls," Shaggy said. "A pair of crooked, aptly named lawyers. We were in a tight spot, but once again, Velma's brilliance solved the musical riddle and saved our lives," said Daphne. Just then, Velma came up on screen. "Hi, Daphne." Velma said, "Great show." "Thanks, Velma." Daphne said, "You know, I was just singing your brain's praises." "I know, I was watching. But that's just number crunching. It's your personal magnetism that allows us to get close enough to bust these sociopaths. Like this one." Velma showed Daphne a photo of a man with an iron mask. "Remember old Iron Face?" "Oh, do I ever?" Daphne rolled her eyes. He was actually Mama Mione, masquerading as the ghost of a weird pirate or something to help convicts escape from prison. No, you're thinking of Redbeard's ghost." "Oh, like that dude was creepy." Shaggy shivered. "Rhea Reapy." Scooby nodded. "That's right," Fred said. "At least until we found out he was C.L. Magnus, a shipping magnate who was stealing from himself and pocketing the insurance." Shaggy said. "That's right." Just then, someone else came up. It was the same guy Madelyn encountered earlier. "Hi, Daphanatic. What's your question?" Daphne asked, "Is it about my modeling pictures?" "What?" Mr. Crawley shook his head. "Oh, no. I just searched Velma Dinkley, and this website came up. I have an urgent message for her. My name is Cuthbert Crawley. I'm a lawyer for her family." "Lawyer? Family?" Velma asked, confused. Daphne paused herself. Clearly this is some sort of scam," Velma said. "Scam? Velma!" Daphne exclaimed. "Oh, Daph, the internet isn't exactly the most reliable source of information." Velma crossed her arms. "Wait, you're saying that tiny special agents aren't real? But," he said, "Velma sent him away." "Velma, you're ruining my show," Daphne said, annoyed. "Besides, the beauty of the internet is the freedom of information. And all the cool stuff you can buy, too," said the guy with the Daphne photos who had returned. "Velma, please, it's a family emergency," said Crawley. "You must come to my office at once. I'm texting you my address." Just then, Velma closed Mr. Crawley's window. "Whoops, looks like we lost him." Velma smiled. "Moving on." "He said it was an emergency." Freddie said, "We need to meet him right away." "We don't, Freddie. It's really okay." Velma waved her hands. "Come on, gang, time's a-wastin'," Freddie said. Shaggy and Scooby and Velma closed their windows. Daphne had no choice. Freddie was the leader of the gang, and after all, she couldn't say no to Freddie. "Well, Daphfanatics, I guess that's all for now. Keep liking me, please." Daphne blew a kiss to the camera and shut down her computer. "Wait, what about the modeling thing?" said the guy with the Daphne photos. The gang went right into the mystery machine, and off they were, on another whirlwind big city adventure. Oops, wrong movie. Author's note. Well, there you have it. Scooby and the gang are on their ways to the lawyer's office, and they're about to meet Velma's baby sis. Too bad Velma knows that and the others don't. Shaggy's gonna so surprised. Chapter 2. Mystery Time. Scooby and the gang had arrived at the office to see Crawley and Madelyn already waiting for them. "Velma, you and your sister Madelyn are the only beneficiaries to your great-great-uncle's castle," said Crawley. Madelyn. Shaggy gulped. "Shaggy?" Madelyn ran up to him and hugged him tightly. "Oh, Shaggykins, I missed you. I missed you. I missed you." Madelyn started kissing Shaggy's whole face ravenously, and Shaggy kept trying to resist. "Hey, Madelyn," said Velma. "Oh, hi, Velma," said Madelyn. The two sisters ran up to each other and hugged. They were so happy to see each other. "Great to see you, little sis." Velma hugged her baby sister. "It's been a while." "Night, Bane." "Ditto." Madelyn smiled widely. "Hi, Madelyn," said Daphne. "Daphne." Madelyn hugged Daphne. "Great to see you. Looking good." "Hey there," said Fred. "Ray? Rat about me?" said Scooby. "I couldn't forget you, Scooby-Doo." Madelyn hugged Scooby and kissed his nose. "Now back to business," said Crawley. "Oh, sorry." Velma said, "Proceed." "Okay," said Crawley. "Now, Velma, due to an unusual proviso in the will, you and Madelyn, as the youngest members of the Dinkleys, get to inherit the entire property, including the castle in Transylvania. Castle in Transylvania? Scooby and Shaggy screamed, and Scooby jumped into Shaggy's arms. You needn't worry, said Crawly. This castle isn't in Eastern Europe. It's in Transylvania, Pennsylvania. It's a rural village of ethnic Transylvanians who, like the Amish, choose to live in a more, traditional. Well, you must be thrilled about this. You'll be women of property and inherit all of your family's fortune. Madelyn and I don't want anything to do with our great-great-uncle Basil. They can give all of it away for all I care, said Velma. Give it away? Asked Madelyn. Why wouldn't you want it? Said Deepan. Perhaps that's just as well, considering all that talk about that supernatural curse hanging over the estate, said Crawly. Curse? Everyone asked. Yes, it said that anyone who dares to get too close to the Baron's legacy will lose what they love the most, and then be utterly destroyed, said Crawly. Don't worry. We'll stay away from the Baron's legacy, and his armacy, and his footacy, said Shaggy. The gang left the office. However, Daphne stopped them at the front door. Wait a minute, Velma. If you and Madelyn are related to a baron, that makes you royalty. You can inherit tiaras, said Daphne. Why wouldn't you want your inheritance? You don't believe in the curse, do you? Asked Fred. Well, duh, course I don't believe in the curse. You should know me better than that. Velma gave a snooty look. Just leave me alone, Fred. All right. Gee, Madelyn, your sister a cranky girl, said Fred. Haven't seen her like that since second prize in the science fair, Madelyn said. Just then, there was a strange sound coming from the van. Fred grabbed Daphne's wrist. Daphne was puzzled. Jeepers, Fred, what? Daphne, I am the only one who knows every last single sound the mystery machine makes, and that sure as heck is so not one of them, Freddie assured her. Then if it isn't, what is it? Madelyn asked. Hit the dirt, Fred ordered. Everyone ducked down and shut their eyes tight. It was like a killer earthquake, but in an office. Suddenly, the van exploded. It blew right into smithereens. Everyone was left speechless, until they finally said something. The car! They screamed at the same time. No! Fred screamed and ran to his precious mystery machine. Mystery machine! My poor baby! Fred Jones, Daphne Blake, Velma Dinkley, Shaggy Rogers, and Scooby-Doo echoed a strange, scary voice. They looked and saw a figure on the roof of the building. It was a monster with a cape and mask. Who are you? Scooby asked. And why did you destroy my car? Fred sobbed. If you must know, Scooby and Frederick, I am the ghost of Velma's ancestor, Basil, and I am here to give you a warning, said the figure. Are you crazy? You could have killed my sister and her friends, not to mention my future husband, said Madelyn. I am not your future husband, shouted Shaggy. Silence, the figure screamed. That was enough for everyone to shut their yaps. Now listen to me, Velma, said the figure. What about me? Madelyn demanded. Silence. Who is this person who so rudely dares to interpret me? The figure screamed. That's my sister, Madelyn, said Velma. So watch your mouth. Okay, now listen to me, Velma and Madelyn. You two and your friends in danger of pulling my curse onto yourselves. If you and your friends dare to go to my castle, you all lose everything you love most. And when you least, I shall destroy you all. Mwahahaha, said the figure. The strange figure disappeared and was gone out like a light. That was weird, Daphne remarked. But good advice. Shaggy shivered. Let's take the monster's advice in Scrammo. Right behind you, Raggy. Scooby nodded. No, said Fred. Not? Scooby asked. You heard what that ghost said. Shaggy added. Fred, we've dealt with some crazy monsters in the past, but this one blew up the van, said Daphne. That is exactly. We're taking Velma and Madelyn there, Daphne, said Fred. Together we've brought down more than our share of villains, with nothing more than pluck, jerry-rigged traps, and a box of Scooby snacks, and for no better reason than a love of justice, and my van and a knack for meddling and a love for my van. Why did you say van twice? Asked Daphne. I didn't. Don't distract me, Daphne. I'm on a roll. But now, we find the forces of evil have come to us. Why? We don't know why. Who? We can't say. But there is one thing we can say for certain. They killed my van. This time it's personal, said Fred. But what about us? Scooby asked. We could all die. It's gonna be life-risking, but we have to go, Scooby, Fred proclaimed. Yeah, like without the mystery machine, how are we even supposed to get there? Said Shaggy. Maybe there's a tryin', said Fred. Oddly enough, there was a train. Predictable as it was, and it certainly was predictable. Scooby, Madelyn, and the gang ran right into the train ready for another adventure. Could they find out who destroyed the mystery machine and end the curse? There was only one way to find out. Chapter 3. Terror Express. Madelyn and the gang were in the train to Transylvania. They had been ready for another mystery. Well, almost all of them. Ain't it? Like Velma. Why is it everywhere we go there's a bad guy to stop? Shaggy asked Velma. Because we're detectives. That's what we do. Velma remarked with a snooty look. Could you be any snootier? Freddie asked. I roverous rain, Renny Ray, Scooby said. Like, yeah, Shaggy said. Too bad there's nothing good to eat here. Well, I'm not eating till we get that ghost and find out who killed my van, Fred vowed. And I'm not eating till we find sometime good, said Shaggy. Me neither, said Scooby. Shaggy, I don't care where we are, as long as I'm with you. Madelyn hugged Shaggy's arm. Help! Yelped Shaggy. Boy, Freddie sure is determined to solve the mystery. Daphne said to Velma, Will, I don't want to solve this mystery at all. Velma crossed her arms. I don't want anything to do with my great-uncle. What's your problem anyways, Velma? Daphne asked. Why are you being so mean? Rhea. Scooby nodded. You've been acting weird, Freddie said. Velma doesn't like to talk about this stuff. Madelyn said, We're okay. Scooby shrugged. Well, the sooner we get there, the better, Daphne said. Just then, something buzzed in her purse. It was her cell phone. She saw something on the screen. It was an article. She read it. What's it say, Daph? Freddie asked. Let me show ya, she said, showing Fred the phone. Here's what the article said. What blue-spectacled teen super sleuth is hiding a terrible family secret? Hint. She wears orange knee socks every day. Now who could that be? Shaggy wondered. Rye don't know Raggy. Scooby shrugged. Guys. Daphne slapped her head. That's Velma. Oh yeah. Shaggy chuckled. I knew that. So did I, Scooby said nervously. So Velma, why don't you explain yourself? Fred asked. Yeah. Daphne added. Is there something you're not telling us? They all stared at Velma like she was hiding something. It's time to come clean, sis. Madelyn put her hand on her sister's shoulder. All right, Velma said. I'll tell you everything. My last name wasn't always Dinkley. Gang, it's time you knew of my deep, shameful family secret. My family name wasn't always Dinkley. Velma bowed her head. Like many emigre families, our original name was Americanized when we disembarked at Ellis Island from the Old World. Madelyn continued. Me and Velma are the direct descendants of the evil Dr. von Dinkenstein. Von Dinkenstein? Asked Daphne. Who's that? Scooby asked. Velma continued to explain. Back in the old country, legend had it that he was the man who created a monster. It was this story that inspired Mary Shelley to write her famous novel, Frankenstein. I don't believe that my ancestor ever succeeded in actually creating the monster, of course. But the fame created by Shelley's story haunted my family. It caused a kind of madness in some of our relatives, who wished to achieve where our ancestors had failed, to reclaim the family name and its occupation. Madelyn finished. We decided not to talk about it, because we thought it was a deep, dark family secret. Velma said, We couldn't tell anyone. Not even our dearest, most trustworthy friends. That's what I've been hiding. Too bad the others were drifting off into space. Fred was thinking about the great times he and the Mystery Machine had together, such as when its former owners tried to hijack it, when they crashed it during that Witch's Ghost episode, and more. Daphne had been looking at her modeling photos, and Shaggy and Scooby had been thinking about food. "Hey, does it feel like the train's going faster?" said Fred. "Jinkies, you're right," said Velma. "We've got to tell the conductor to slow down," said Daphne. "Like I shouldn't gone easy on the bag of sun chips I ate before we got on the train," said Shaggy, clothing his stomach. "You ate a whole bag of sun chips before we boarded?" said Daphne. "I thought there was going to be good food on the train," said Shaggy. "And you didn't share them with me," said Scooby. "Hey, you didn't share the pepperoni pizza that you ate before we got on," said Shaggy. "You ate a whole pepperoni pizza?" asked Madelyn. "Rhea," said Scooby, clothing his stomach. He grabbed Daphne's purse and puked into it. "It's... Scooby, no!" whined Daphne. "That's my new bag." Shaggy puked out the window. "Quit complaining," Velma said. "You've got 8 more back home." "We should have brought a doggy bag," Freddie said. "Don't worry. We'll go to the conductor and see what's going on," said Velma. They went to see the conductor. Along the way, they came across some ugly-looking passengers. "Freaky passengers," whispered Fred. "Fred," whispered Daphne. "Shaggy, Scooby, the conductor's car is on the other side of these passengers," said Velma. "And you want us go there?" "Like no thanks. Velma Dinkley von Dinkenstein," said Shaggy. "Or you could wait right here with me." Madelyn batted her eyelashes. Shaggy gulped. "Velma ... .com e-back." "Come on, Scooby, we'll jump over them," said Shaggy, picking up Scooby. "Are you insane?" said Scooby. Next thing poor Scooby-Doo knew, he was flying over the ugly people. He landed on the floor on the other side. Shaggy then jumped and landed next to the dog. "Rat wasn't cool, Raggy," said Scooby. "Sorry, Scooby. Are you okay?" said Shaggy. "Rhea," said Scooby. Madelyn then jumped over the crowd. "Ta-da," said Madelyn. "Man, I cannot shake her," said Shaggy. "Rhea's rot rills," Scooby said. "Looks like those aerobic lessons paid off." Madelyn hugged Shaggy. They got to there and ran to the door of the conductor's car. Shaggy tugged on the knob. "The door's locked," he yelled. "What?" said Fred. "He said the door's locked," said the ugly people. "Try breaking the door down," said Fred. "What?" said Shaggy. "He said trying breaking the door down," said the ugly people. "Are you nuts?" asked Shaggy. "What?" shouted Fred. "He said, 'Are you nuts?'" shouted the ugly people. "Hey, pal," Madelyn said, pounding on the door. "Do you think you could slow down? Some passengers here are getting car sick." Just then, the conductor looked the door and opened it only to reveal something shocking and scary. He was the Baron's ghost. "Mwah-ha-ha-ha-ha," laughed the ghost. "Zoinks," said Shaggy. "You should heeded my warning for now. You must face the von Dinkenstein curse," he said. "Each of you is to lose something you love the most, and then you are all to be destroyed." "What exactly does he mean by each of us are going to lose something we love the most, and then we are going to be destroyed, guys?" Madelyn asked. "You'll find soon enough," said the ghost. "Mwah-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha." The ghost cackled and vanished like a light. "Hey," said one of the ugly people. "Your blonde friend is demanding to know why you are doing nothing to slow down the train." "Tell him we're all gonna die," yelled Shaggy. "What?" shouted Fred. "He said we're all gonna die," said all the ugly people. They all started to panic. Fred, Daphne, and Velma worked their way through the panicking ugly crowd, till finally they reached Shaggy, Scooby, and Madelyn. "Where's the conductor?" asked Fred. "The conductor was the Baron's ghost," said Shaggy. "The Baron?" asked Daphne. "He said that we'll all lose something we love the most, and then we'll all be destroyed," said Shaggy. "And the worst part is, we'll be taking all those ugly people out there with us," said Shaggy. "Shaggy, that is so rude," said Daphne. "We are not dying on a runaway train," said Velma. Shaggy stammered, but the ghost." "Quit whining, Shaggy." Velma pointed at Shaggy. "Hey, don't talk to my angel that way." Madelyn grabbed Shaggy's arm. "I am not your angel. Stop saying that," yelled Shaggy. "Don't shout at me, Shaggykins. I'm defending you," said Madelyn. "Rhea Raggy," Scooby said. You should thank her. Somebody pull the train brake, said Daphne. Madelyn grabbed the brake and it broke off. Zoinks! The brake broke, said Shaggy. Now we panic, Scooby pointed out. Ah! They screamed. Chapter 4. A Not So Happy. Welcome and a new ally. When we last left our heroes, they were going to be victims of a train crash. The train was going really fast. We have to slow the train down, said Velma. But how? In case you blacked out for a minute, Shaggy broke the brake off, said Daphne. Hey, leave my sweetie alone, Madelyn demanded. I am not your sweetie, Shaggy protested. Ranny Rant's red, said Scooby. Don't rush me, Scoob. I'm thinking, said Fred. You can't rush perfection. I've got an idea. Fred, tell everyone to go back into the car with the ugly people, said Velma. Velma, where are your manners? Said Daphne. Hey, who are you calling ugly? Shouted one of the ugly passengers. Sorry, said Velma. Velma was always the brains of the group, so they decided to trust her. Quick, gang, back into the ugly people car, Fred ordered. Hey, shut up, said a disfigured girl. You shut up! Me and my friends are trying to save you all, Fred shouted back, while he and the gang ran back into the previous train car. Don't you dare talk to my daughter like that, screamed her mother. Now you apologize right this minute or I will kill you. Sorry, little girl, said Fred. Oh, Shaggy. Madelyn hugged Shaggy. If we none of us make it, I just want to know I love you and I always will. Please, Velma, save us, Shaggy squeaked. Okay, Velma, now what? Asked Fred. Pull out the rod connecting this car to the lead car, said Velma. Hurry, Freddy. The train could crash at any minute, said Daphne. Okay, said Fred. Freddy pulled the rod just like Velma had said. Would this work? Of course it would. After all, you can't expect one of the heroes to die. Suddenly, the cars started to slow down, while the lead Tryon, now disconnected, zoomed into a building with a clock and was destroyed. Whew! It worked, said Fred. That was close, sighed Shaggy. Rank goodness, Scooby sighed. Yeah, like I was afraid I'd have to die with those ugly trolls. Daphne remarked. Hey, they shouted. Oh, you can tell them ugly, but we can't. Is that it? Asked Velma. Sounds like the pot is calling the kettle black. Madelyn pointed to Daphne. Rhea, Scooby growled. Hey, Daphne crossed her arms and pouted. I can't help being beautiful. It's in the genes. It runs in the family. And I thought our family history was rough. Madelyn whispered to Velma. Tell me about it, sis, Velma remarked. Anyways, let's go, Fred told the gang. The cars started to pull into town and the gang got out. There was a crowd waiting. Okay, don't worry. No need to thank us, said Fred. Just doing our job, Shaggy added. What is the meaning of this blowing up our train, not to mention our town clock? A man with a stash and police outfit asked. Well, I'm waiting. We've done the ton of service without the life we've saved, said Velma. The man looked at her and Madelyn. Holy Guggenheim! You two are von Dinkenstein girls. I'd know those glasses anywhere. The cop gasped. He looked at Daphne, Fred, Shaggy, and Scooby. How dare you bring these evil girls into our community? Relma's wrought revel, said Scooby. Silence. He looked back at her and Madelyn. You two are to leave at once. Your family is not welcome in our town, said the man. Your family monster made me like this. He showed them a duster where a hand should be. Like, why'd the monster replace your hand with a duster? Asked Shaggy. The monster ate my hand. I am the one who suppiled the duster, said the man. What a jerk, Fred said. Rhea. Scooby nodded. You can't blame Velma and Madelyn for something their uncle did, said Daphne. Of course we can. We blame their entire bloodline for the von Dinkenstein curse. So, that's sissy, said the man. Ja, said the crowd. Seriously, said Velma. Seriously, young lady, said a overweight man with a top hat and mustahants. I am Mr. Burger, the Burgermeister of this town. You're a burger, said Shaggy. Burger, said Scooby. 100%, said Burger. I've never met a talking burger. Scooby he licked the man. Ah, he said. Bleh, needs ketchup, said Scooby. That's Burgermeister, said Burger. It means mayor. He turned to Velma. Now to answer your question, young lady, ever since the monster was destroyed, the Baron's ghost has haunted us, and now tourism is dead, and our famed factory barely stays open. Factory? Freddy asked. Our factory, said Burgermeister. What odes this town make? Said Fred. We are the premier torch-making industry, said Burgermeister. Inspector Crunch. He pointed at the man with the duster hand. Flame on, said Inspector Crunch. The torch the crowd were holding instantly lit them slavs. An industry for torches, Madelyn asked. What's this world coming to? The villagers raised their torches like they had never raised them before, like their torches were gods. These village idiots are always a little weird, Daphne whispered to Velma. Suddenly, someone tugged at Shaggy's arm. He looked down. Zoinks! He shouted. Who are you? He was a little hunchback man with an ugly face. He said, You, all of you, come with me. Sure, okay. Shaggy said awkwardly, Come on, gang. Scooby and the gang had followed the hunchback to wherever he was taking them. Somehow the guy looked trustworthy. Me Iago, said the man. Nice to meet you, Iago, said Velma. Me, Velma. And me, Madelyn, said Madelyn. You two Von Dinkensteins, said Iago. Factory? Freddy asked. Me Daphne, said Daphne. Me Fred, said Fred. Like me Shaggy, said Shaggy. Scooby-Doo, said Scooby. Velma just looked at them. Ah, your dog speaks, Iago observed. Yep, that's my pal, Shaggy said. What you want with us? Velma asked. Rand, why won't you rate Relma, Rand, Ratter, and Riker all the other villagers? Asked Scooby. Iago no understand, weird talking dog, said Iago. Oh, like he asked you why you don't hate Velma and Madelyn like the other villagers. Shaggy corrected Iago. Oh, Iago thanks baggy-dressed hippie, said Iago. Like, who's calling baggy-dressed? He's wearing a cloak, Shaggy whispered to Daphne. Shaggy, shut up, Daphne whispered. Don't tell my angel to shut up, Madelyn whispered back. I am not your angel, Shaggy whispered loudly. Iago servant to Von Dinkenstein family. Iago no harm them, said Iago. You no harm them? Madelyn asked. Right, Iago no harm masters, he explained. So why do you want us? Velma asked. I guess we'd better follow him, Daphne said. Right behind you, Raphne. Scooby followed her. Do you have a car? Daphne asked. No, but it not very far from here, Iago said. Scooby and the gang were on their way to the Dinkelstein castle. What were the answers to the ghosts and zombies' riddles? There was only one way to find out. At the castle, Chapter 5. Welcome to the Castlety. Iago drove Velma, Madelyn, and the gang to the castle in a carriage. So now he's driving us down a deserted road. To who knows where, said Shaggy. To the Von Dinkensteins. All generations Von Dinkensteins have hunchback for servant, said Iago. Bad posture bring good luck. Iago, you must know our family history, said Velma. Why does the ghost of the Baron wear that metal mask? Asked Madelyn. Yeah, I'm a genius, and I can't even figure that out, Velma added. And it's my family. Your family? Hey, sis, what am I, chopped liver? Asked Madelyn. Chopped liver, said Shaggy and Scooby. Okay, our family. Are you happy now? Velma yelled. Yes, I am, said Madelyn, folded her arms. Legends say on stormy November night, Baron work on his experiment. He'd been collecting parts for project many months from zoo cemetery, harbor, and less savory places. He find creatures, mutants, cobble them together. He was forced to finally give life to creation. But much to Baron von Dinkenstein's chagrin, the villagers became apprised of what he was about to do. They feared that such a creature, assembled from parts discarded, would not know compassion or empathy, and have only the capacity for wanton destruction. The villagers put an end to both the doctor and his abomination. So the monster was destroyed, and the Baron's face permanently at, is why he wore the metal mask. But before he died years later, he vowed revenge and cursed the entire town for all eternity, Iago explained. Oh, like eternity, huh? Ho, 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 that's a long time, said Shaggy. Wait, a minute ago you spoke in grunts and ughs. When did you become so loquacious? Asked Velma. Iago no understand Brainy von Dinkenstein words, said Iago. Never mind, Velma said to Iago. Hey, Daphne, said Shaggy. Yes, Shaggy, Daphne asked. Back on the train, Scooby and I found out that the Baron's mask looked pretty familiar, he explained. Rhea Reich someone we know, Scooby said. Hey, gang! Madelyn pointed to a castle. We're here! The carriage stopped. Scooby and the gang hopped out and Iago rode away. Scooby and the gang knocked on the door, and they waited for someone to come to the door. Get a load of this grill, Scooby, pointing at the doorknob. I wish we had that on the train, 'cause that face could stop a... When Shaggy turned back, the door was open and he saw a scary-looking woman. Ho, 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 why, that's a nice face. That's a very, very nice face. Good evening, and welcome to Von Dinkenstein Castle. We are so glad to have you, the woman said sinisterly. She closed the door and it squeaked loudly. That's quite a squeak, Fred said. I've got some DW-40 in the... He stopped. Oh yeah, never mind, he finished. Like what if we want to leave? Shaggy asked the woman. Come and find me. I have the only key, she said, dropping it into her blouse. Now, Von Dinkenstein girls, she said. Actually, it's Dinkley, Velma corrected. And my name is Velma, and I'm her sister, Madelyn. Madelyn introduced herself. And these are our friends Daphne, Fred, Shaggy, and Scooby-Doo. Velma introduced the others. I am Mrs. Vanders, the housekeeper here at Castle Von Dinkenstein. The woman introduced herself. I will show you to your rooms. Follow closely. The gang followed Mrs. Vanders to where she was taking them. The castle looked kind of scary. It was dark, squeaky, and had cobwebs. Follow closely, Mrs. Vanders said. The darkness can be treacherous. While they walked, there was a strange noise. Boy, these old floorboards sure are squeaky, Daphne said. Oh, dude, it seems like this place is being held up with cobwebs, Shaggy said. I hope that is not a comment on my housekeeping skills. Mrs. Vanders glared. No. Shaggy shook his head. Like we love cobwebs, don't we, Scooba? Rear-radu raggy. Scooby nodded nervously. They stopped a moment. The noise continued. It was Miss Vanders farting. Velma was disgusted, and so was everyone else. Not that I blame them. I hope we solve this mystery soon, Fred whispered. I want to get out of here. Something you'd like to say? Asked Mrs. Vanders sinisterly. No, nothing, said Freddie. Where's Inspector Crunch's duster when you need it? Velma snarked. Vanders turned to Velma and glared at her. Von Dinkenstein girl, did you say something you'd like to share, MITT the group? Nope, nothing at all. Velma nervously shook her head. And it's Dinkley, not Von Dinkenstein. With all these lights, your gas bill must be enormous, Daphne said. 9. The castle was built on natural gas resource. We have all the gas we need, Vanders said. You certainly do, Shaggy wisped, snickering. Did you say something? Asked Vanders. No, said Shaggy. It's what I thought. She death glared. Guess she isn't much of a laugher, whispered Scooby. Who is whispering? Demanded Vanders. Nobody. I didn't hear a thing, said Shaggy. The gang continued following her to their quarters. Von Dinkenstein girls, this is your room, said Vanders, opening a door. For the last time, said Velma, walking through the door. It's Dinkley. She was walking right over an edge. Madelyn quickly grabbed her and pulled her back in. Are you okay, sis? Asked Madelyn. Yeah, said Velma. What's the big idea? Said Madelyn. Sorry about that. That one is certain death. Really must label these doors, said Vanders. And now, the highlight of our attraction. She opened up a door to reveal a mad scientist's lab. Zoinks! Shaggy gasped. Jeepers! Daphne gasped. Jinkies! Velma finished. Hold the phone, said Fred. Real mad scientist lab, Scooby stated. Cool, said Madelyn. I've been in a Transylvanian castle before, but this is ridiculous, Shaggy said. Look at all the mad scientist stuff, said Fred. My great-great-uncle certainly didn't do anything halfway, Velma said. Let's get a closer look at this place. The gang couldn't believe what they had just seen. A real mad scientist lab? Could this help them in their big case? Chapter 6. The Reincarnation of Von Dinkelstein. When we last left our heroes, they ended up in the Dinkley sisters' great-uncle's mansion and an ugly old lady. I've been in a Transylvanian castle before, but this is ridiculous, Shaggy said. Look at all the mad scientist stuff, said Fred. Suddenly, Iago appeared. Out of the blue, might I add. Iago, when did you get here? Velma asked. Iago got here moments ago, Mistress Vemla, Iago explained. How did he even get here before us? Madelyn whispered. My great-great-uncle certainly didn't do anything halfway, Velma said. Let's get a closer look at this place. So our heroes went around searching around the lab. It looked like something out of a vintage horror movie. While they were searching, Shaggy and Scooby found a fridge. Ray Rookrat this ridge, Raggy. Scooby pointed to the fridge. Like maybe they've got some eats, Scooby. So, Shaggy said. They opened the fridge, pulled out a handload of food, and placed on a nearby cloth-covered table. Riss is more riket, said Scooby. The boys were about to dig when all of a sudden... Halt! Mrs. Vander stopped them. Before you two go any further, I must inform you both of 2 facts. 1, these parts are not food. The animal part that Baron decided not to use in his creature. Gross! What's the other fact? Asked Shaggy. The table that at which you two sit is not a table, said Vanders. She removed the cloth, pulling off the food in the process, and there was a giant block of ice, with a monster frozen inside for all eternity. Oh! The gang screamed, the monster! Boy, dudes, that Frankenstein dude is like one scary monster. Shaggy shivered. Just so you, Shaggy? Frankenstein was the mad scientist, not the monster. Velma corrected Shaggy. Trust me, Velma. I've seen the real Frankenstein monster. Shaggy winked at them. Jeepers, guys, Daphne said. That thing is scarier than Frankenstein. It's a Frankencreep. Just like the title of this story, Madelyn said. Just then, spooky random organ music came out of nowhere. I don't know why I bother opening my mouth. Velma slapped her forehead. It looks like a hodgepodge of various monsters, Madelyn pointed out. Part scaly, part furry, and all ugly. At least what we can see through this hazy block of ice is. Now you can see why I keep the castle temperature somewhat low, Mrs. Vander said. Rat can't be real. Scooby shivered. Can it? It couldn't be true, could it? Daphne asked. If the monster is real, then my entire worldview is called into question. Velma boasted. This monster must be a fake, and I'll prove it. How are you going to do that, Velma? Freddie asked. I'll recreate the Baron's experiment, and when it fails, everything will be right in my world again. Velma boasted. Mwah ha 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 ha. Velma, I thought you didn't want anything to do with our uncle, said Madelyn. Jeepers, Velma. Why are you so obsessed with this? Daphne asked. Rhea. Scooby said wry. I am not obsessed. I am the opposite of obsessed. I'll recreate the monster and prove it's fake. I'll prove monsters don't exist. Now everyone, get out! Velma yelled at the top of her voice. Except you, Iago and Mrs. Evanders. You stay and help me. Okay, said Iago. As you command, Miss Velma. Mrs. Vanders evilly smiled. Okay, come on, gang, let's go, said Fred. He, Daphne, Shaggy, Scooby, and Madelyn walked out the door. See you later, sis, waved Madelyn. Outside the door, the others discussed what they had just witnessed. It wasn't like Velma to be mean and lose her temper. Boy, my sis sure is cranky today, Madelyn stated. Rhea, Scooby said. Couldn't have said it better myself. Daphne added. Why is Velma being so mean? Fred asked. It's not like her to act like a jerk. But we should get back to solving the mystery, said Daphne. I was afraid you'd say that. Shaggy whined. Let's split up, gang, Fred said. Daphne, stop it right there, Fredo. Shaggy and me will go to the left of the castle, and the rest of you will go to the other side. Madelyn hugged Shaggy's arm. Actually, Mads. Me and Scooby usually go together. Shaggy corrected her. Rhea. Scooby responded. Please, Shaggykins. Madelyn made big puppy dog eyes. Oh, fine. Shaggy reluctantly agreed. Oh, thank you, Shaggy, sweetie. Madelyn smothered his face with kisses. I promise if those nasty monsters try to hurt you, I'll pound them. Our love will get us through. Good luck, you two lovebirds. Daphne chuckled. Velma had been acting weird. First, she didn't want anything to do with her great-uncle. Now she wanted to rebuild his monsters. How could the gang solve the mystery without Velma? But they had Madelyn, who was just about as smart as Velma. Could they find out who blew up the van? Chapter 7. KV Jr.'s Bath. Author's note. Now before you say anything, I'd just like to say these bits will be included in all of our non-Boomerland stories. After all, I can't resist something funny once in a while. Plus, I love using some of Scooby's fellow Hanna-Barbarians in my stories. And now it's time for Captain Caveman and Son. Captain Caveman and Son and the Teen Angels. Inces, KV Jr. It's bath time. Outside of Captain Caveman, KV Jr. and the Teen Angels' house, KV Jr., Scooter Chan, Jinx Jr., and Augie Doggy playing 2-on-2 in the driveway. All right, boys. Augie dribbled the basketball. Get ready to see my Space Jam Slam-a-Bam-a. Augie ran and dribbled the basketball. The opposing team tried to unblock him and throw him off guard, but Augie leaped into the air and slam-dunked the basketball. Score! Augie landed on the ground on his feet, and the crowd goes wild. Scooter clapped his hands. Everyone else cheered for Augie. Awesome, Augie, Cavi Jr. said. Looks like you're becoming like Mike. Of course I learned from the best, my dear old basketball crazy pop. Augie boasted. Now it's your turn, KV Jr. Scooter tossed the basketball to KV Jr. All right, here goes nothing. Captain Caveman Jr. KV Jr. leaped up into the air and slam-dunked the basketball. Woo-hoo! Scooter cheered. Congratulations, CJ. Jinx Junior High Ford KV Jr. Now that's what I call being like Mike. Just then, Scooter sniffed the air. Ick. What's that smell? He asked. I smell it too. KV Jr. sniffed the air as well. So do I. Jinx Jr. added. Augie sniffed some more and noticed it was coming from KV Jr. KV Jr., it's you! Huh? KV Jr. sniffed his arm. It is me. Dude, when's the last time you took a bath? Scooter asked. Well, I think it was 3 weeks ago. KV Jr. answered. 3 weeks? The others shouted. CJ, you've got to take a bath now. Jinx Jr. stated. 'Cause I'm not playing with people who don't bathe or shower. Yeah, if you don't bathe, nobody will want to be around you. Scooter pointed out. Scooter, time for dinner. Somebody called out to Scooter. It was Mr. Chan. I gotta go, guys. Scooter went next door to the Chan residence. KV Jr., you'd better bathe. Bye, Scooter. The others waved. Augie, my son, time for dinner. Doggy Daddy called to his son across the road. Bye, guys. Augie waved goodbye. Coming, dear old Dad. I'd better go to 0 CJ. Jinx Jr. left for his house. Make sure you scrub yourself. Bye, JJ. KV Jr. picked up the basketball and went inside his house. Aunt Dee Dee has probably finished dinner anyways. KV Jr. went inside of the house and put the basketball on the living room floor. He went into the dining room and saw his father and the teen angels ready for dinner. Son, you just in time for dinner. Captain Caveman sat down on the table. All right, teen angels, said Dee. Get ready for fried chicken, baked macaroni and cheese, and loaded baked potatoes. Thank God you're finished, Dee. I'm starving. Brenda put a napkin in her lap. Before dinner could be served, Captain Caveman and the teen angels smelled something. Blah! Brenda made a face. What's that smell? Is that the food? No way. Dinkley said they... I cooked all this to perfection. Did I forget to put on deodorant again? Taffy sniffed her armpits. No, Mom. It's probably me. Cavey Jr. looked down. Captain Caveman sniffed his son and instantly backed away. Cavey Gr., when was last time you bathed? He shouted at his son. It was 3 weeks ago, Cavey Jr. said. 3 weeks? Taffy asked. Your father, Aunt Dee. So in the Dee and Brenda and I shower every night. How do you think your aunts and I stay so attractive and lovely? Gee, Mom, I always thought it was 'cause you teen angels were drawn like that. Cavey Jr. shrugged. But anyways, you go bathe now. Captain Caveman pointed to the bathroom. No dinner until you sparkly clean. Okay, Dad, but I'm scared to go alone. Cavey Jr. stammered. Why? Caveman asked. Because there might be monsters and sharks in the bath, Dad, said Cavey Jr. Can you take a bath with me? EW, no, Caveman yelled. Me only bathe with meself, and Taffy ... in me. Dreams, that is. Brenda, why don't you go prepare Cavey Jr.'s bath? Dee Dee asked Brenda. And make sure he's squeaky clean. Caveman ordered Brenda. Fine. Brenda took Cavey Jr.'s arm and took him to the bathroom. Come on, baby Cavey. Brenda and Cavey Jr. arrived in the bathroom, where Brenda had just filled the tub with steaming hot water. All right, Cavey Jr., time to bathe, Brenda said. Now hurry up and bathe. I want to get back to dinner. Can you put some bubbles in my bath, Aunt Brenda? Cavey Jr. asked. No, you're a big boy, Brenda told him, over 1,000 years old to be exact. Just take a normal bath like all humans in this era. But I want bubbles, Cavey Jr. pouted. We're not putting bubbles in the tub, Brenda growled. Cavey Jr. screamed at the top of his voice. I want bubbles. Brenda growled, and her whole face turned totally red. She was ready to snap. Moments later, the tub was filled with bubble bath. Hoot! Hooray! Cavey Jr. cheered. Thank you, Aunt Brenda. Now hurry up and bathe. Brenda pointed to the bubble bath. Dee Dee made the fried chicken extra brown. Will you hold my hand, Aunt Brenda? Cavey Jr. held out his hand. I'm still scared of the monsters and sharks. Sure. Brenda huffed and held Cavey Jr.'s hand. Thank you, Auntie. Cavey Jr. hugged Brenda. Will you give me a kiss too? No, not until you are sparkly clean, she said. Now get in the tub. Just then Brenda noticed something. Cavey Jr.'s hat and cape were gone. Hey, Junior, what happened to your hat and loincloth cape? Brenda asked the boy. Oh, I took them off, 'cause I'm bathing, Cavey Jr. answered. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Brenda held Junior's hand. Now go inside and scrub yourself clean. Okay, Onite. Cavey Jr. went inside the bathtub and scrubbed himself with a sponge. Brenda just looked away and kept holding Junior's hand. All of a sudden, Cavey Jr. jumped out of the tub and held on to Brenda. He was shivering and burying his face in her chest. Brenda pulled Cavey Jr. off her Junior. What are you doing? Shark! Cavey Jr. shivered and pointed at the bath. Brenda slapped her forehead. Baby Cavey, there are no Brenda looked down and saw a great white shark in the bathtub in plain sight. It was Jabberjaw. Ah! They both screamed and ran out of the bathroom. No respect. Not even during a cameo. Jabberjaw looked at the readers. Brenda and Cavey Jr. ran out the door and into the couch. Brenda! Deaky... Busweep... Ditsty asked. Do you want to buy him the whites? Cavey Jr.? Captain Caveman saw them quivering with fear. What going on? Is Cavey Jr. clean? Shark, Bubbles, and Jabberjaw, and the tub, and the bath, the tub in the bath. Brenda held on to Dee Dee. That it, son, no more baths. Son, you going into the shower. Caveman carried Junior into the next bathroom. Captain Caveman went into the next bathroom and put Cavey Jr. into the shower, where Cavey Jr. scrubbed every inch of his body. Finally, he came outside, all sparkly and clean. Okay, I'm all sparkly clean. Cavey Jr. came out all clean and shiny. Thank God you're clean, now we can eat. Brenda sighed. What, my kiss, Aunt Brenda? Asked Cavey Jr. I'm squeaky clean now. Brenda just slapped her forehead. Well, I am an angel of my word. She picked Cavey Jr. up, shut her eyes tight, and kissed Jr. right on the lips. Bleh! Brenda started gagging. I got caveman hair on lips. After Brenda got the fur off her lips, Captain Caveman Sr., Cavey Jr., Brenda, Dee Dee, and Taffy sat down to eat dinner. Got room for one more? Asked Jabberjaw, who came into the dining room. The end. Chapter 8. A mystery wrapped inside a castle. The second Velma's sister and friends were gone. She went to work. Miss Velma, why don't you look here before we begin? Asked Mrs. Vanders. Why not? Velma hissed. Something was weird about Velma. She wasn't acting like herself. She followed Mrs. Ganders to the place she was talking about. It looked like some sort of spinning wheel, but with power and electricity. Wow! A strict bought an electro wheel, said Velma, amazed. I've kept these machines clean and in good repair for decades. See? Asked Mrs. Vanders. She turned it on. Notice how the gyroscope spins, spinning slowly. Look closely, very closely. Yes, I do. Velma stared into the wheel thingy. She looked, and suddenly she blacked out. Finally, she snapped out of it. Oh, Mrs. Vanders, my friends and sister might need something good to eat. Go bring them some food, she said. Iago and I have everything under control. Yes, Miss Velma, said Mrs. Vanders. Iago, Velma said to the hunchback-like guy. Show me how that new machine of mine works right now. Yes, Brainy von Dinkenstein, right away, said Iago. He went over to the machine and reactivated it. This caused Velma to go into a long, intoxicating daze. Meanwhile, Scooby, Freddy, and Daphne were walking down a hallway. They were searching for clues. Velma's sure been acting moody, guys, Daphne said. It's like she's ashamed of her family. Yeah, I know, Scooby added. Well, this crook is gonna pay for destroying my precious van, Fred proclaimed. I sure know that. Meanwhile, Shaggy and Madelyn had been walking on the other side of the castle. But Madelyn had other things on her mind. Boy, like this place sure gives me the heebie-bajeebies, Shaggy stammered. Don't worry, Shaggykins. I'll hold your hand. Madelyn held Shaggy's hand. And I know that our love will conquer the obstacles we face. I know we will, darling. Shaggy wanted to get away from Madelyn, so he thought of something. Hey, what's over there? Said Shaggy, pointed at the wall. Madelyn looked, and Shaggy broke free of her grip and ran off. Shaggykins, where are you going? Madelyn called out. To find Scooby, Shaggy said from the hallway. Madelyn ran after Shaggy. Shaggy, come back. You don't know where you're going. Scooby-Doo, where are you? Shaggy called out to Scooby. Fred, Daphne, and Scooby heard Shaggy's echo. I hear something, Freddy pointed out. Guys, shut up. Daphne moved her ear close to where the echo was coming from. Ritz Raggy, Scooby said. Good thing he had his canine super sense, so he could hear anything a mile away. Perhaps he found something, gang, come on, said Freddy. Soon, they ran into Shaggy, who was running away from Madelyn. Raggy? Scooby asked Shaggy. You're supposed to be with Madelyn. Daphne folded her arms. Yoo-hoo, Shaggykins, Madelyn called out. Oh no, Shaggy sighed. Don't you ever run away from me again. She hugged him. I was so afraid and worried I'd never see you again. Just then, some sort of growling sound came out of nowhere. What's that? Daphne gasped. Listen to that growling, said Madelyn. It sounds sinister. It is, Shaggy said. It's me and Scooby's stomachs. We haven't eaten in like 20 minutes. And the constant state of sheer terror makes you hungry. Like really hungry. No, you're always hungry, Daphne corrected him. Even I could go for a bite, said Freddie. Just then, someone came by. It was Iago. He was carrying something. I anticipate your every need. He held out some plates with food. Please try a traditional dish of our homeland. Everyone looked at the dinner plates. It looked a bit weird. Is it gluten-free? Daphne asked. Does it have hydrogenated oils? And it's not shellfish, right? Because I'm allergic. Just eat it, Iago shouted. Everyone started eating. Secretly, they didn't enjoy the food at all. Not even Shaggy and Scooby-Doo. Too tasty. Fred looked sicky. Scrumptious. Daphne pretended to eat it. Rim not hungry anymore. Scooby tossed away the plate. So, where's Velma? Asked Daphne. We haven't seen her since she told us to get out. Oh, she is busy right now. Iago sinisterly smiled. Meanwhile, Velma was just in her great-uncle's lab, finishing up her evil plan. Yes, she manically laughed. It's complete. Soon, I will avenge my dear great-uncle, and I will become the greatest, most powerful mad scientist that ever lived, and I shall rule the world, and everything will be mine. Mwah, ha, 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 ha. Chapter 9. Don't scam with the funky phantom. Author's note. And now it's funky phantom time. The funky phantom in Don't Scam with the Funky Phantom. Our story opens today when we see none other than Top Cat and his sidekick Benny the Ball, lying on the ground at the suburban community of Barbera Gardens with an empty bag. I'm tired of being broke, TC, said Benny. We need money. Of course we need money, Benny, Top Cat said. Our bag is empty and pathetic. We need to get money. But how do we do that? Benny asked his boss. Oh, I don't know, Benny. Top Cat rolled his eyes. Maybe we could scam someone? That's a great idea, TC, Benny said. But who are we gonna rob? Good question, Benny, my boy. TC said, we need to rob someone hip, cool, and with lots of cash. Now who can we kinda? How about those guys at that house with that green dune buggy that says Looney Dooney and has red, white, and blue stripes on it? Benny pointed to a house with a green dune buggy parked in the garage space. No, Benny, that's stupid. Top Cat pondered, then got an idea. I know. Let's rob the house with that green dune buggy parked in front of it. Great idea. Benny shrugged. I'm glad I thought of it, Top Cat said arrogantly. Inside the house, April, Skip, and Augie were talking. I'm going into the backyard to give Elmo a bath, April told the boys. I'll help you, April. Skip went up to her. No! Augie pushed Skip out of the way and went to April. Elmo is my dog, and that loser Skip couldn't take care of his beautiful coat, so I'm gonna help you. No, I will, Skip exclaimed to Augie. No, I will, Augie argued back. Musclehead, Skip pointed at Augie. Sick face, Augie pointed back. The two boys kept arguing until a voice came out of nowhere. He? Said the strange voice. Huh, the kids asked. Their best friend, the funky phantom, aka Mudsy, appeared out of nowhere with his cat Boo on his hat. I'll help April, boys, he said. Honestly, you two are behaving like children, babies, twin brothers, even. Thanks, Mudsy. April picked up Elmo. Come on, Elmo, bath time. Oro! Elmo whimpered. Boo snickered as Mudsy and April went to the backyard to... Back outside, Top Cat and Benny arrived to the front of Mudsy and the gang's house. They had to think of a plan to scam them. How we're gonna scam them, TC? Asked Benny. It's quite simple, Benny, said Top Cat. When they come to the door, we are going to ask them, would you like to donate to the Feed, the Poor People and Orphans Foundation? But in reality, they're going to give us the money. Oh, I get it, said Benny. We are going to trick them into donating to a fake foundation and keep the money for ourselves. That's right, Benny, my boy, Top Cat told the little blue cat. And after we steal the money, we hijack the car, and we get the rest of the gang together, and we go to the mall and blow our stolen money. Top Cat rang the doorbell. Inside, Augie and Skip heard the doorbell ring and opened the door to see Top Cat and Benny. Hello? Can we help you? Asked Skip. Good day to you, sirs or madams. Benny waved his hand. We're sirs. Skip folded his arms. We are representatives of the Feed, the Poor People and Orphans Foundation. Top Cat told them, and we were wondering if you had any money you would like to donate to help those poor people and orphans. If I donate, April will see how generous, kind, and sympathetic I am. Augie said, I'll donate $100. Oh, no, you won't, Skip argued. I'll donate $500. Then April will fall for me instead. We'll see about that. Augie zoomed inside the house. Bring it on, bucko. Skip ran after him. Oh boy, those two are so competitive over some girl, they're gonna donate tons of money to us, Benny told TC. That's right, Benny boy, Top Cat said. Let's follow them to their safe. Both of the two alley cats followed both Skip and Augie into their bedroom, where they saw a safe. Okay, Skip, said Augie. Let's see who's the more generous person now. You got that right, meathead. Skip typed in the code for the safe, and inside the safe was money, gold coins, diamonds, jewelry, keys to the Looney Dooney, and so much more. Top Cat snuck up behind Skip and Augie and knocked them out cold with a frying pan. Benny! Top Cat called out to his sidekick. Look at all this money. Now let's fill our money bag and scram. Sure thing, Top Cat. Benny started putting the gold coins and money into the sack. Now let's hightail it out of here. Top Cat grabbed the keys to the Looney Dooney. Once they finished heisting the money, the two talking cats ran to the Looney Dooney and drove off at breakneck speed. A few minutes later, April and Mudsie came back inside the house with Elmo, all fluffy and clean. Boys, April called out, Elmo's all squeaky clean. Come see the makeover I gave him. Boo snickered and Elmo growled. Friends, teammates, Skip and Augie even. Mudsie called out, Lend me your ears. We just finished giving Elmo his bath. Mudsie and April searched all around for the boys and saw them knocked out cold in their room. Heavens to Dawes Butler, Don Messick even. Mudsie gasped. Skip and Augie are knocked out cold. And our safe is empty. April looked at the empty safe. Don't worry, I'll wake them up. Mudsie picked up the boys and slapped them hard. They woke up and saw Mudsie. Mudsie? Skip woke up. What's going on? Augie asked. The two boys turned around and saw that their safe was robbed. Oh my God, Skip gasped. We were just robbed. It was probably those cats, Augie said. What cats? What happened? April asked. And explain everything, from start to finish. Mudsie folded his arms. Well, these two cats came over to our house and said they were collecting money for charity. Skip explained. And I wanted to prove to you that I was more generous than that loser Skip. Augie pointed at his roommate. And I wanted to show you how compassionate I was than Augie, that meathead. Will you boys stop fighting? April put her hands on her hips. And just finish what happened. Okay. They both sighed. Well, Augie continued, we went in here with the cats and opened the safe, and next thing you know, we were knocked out cold. And I ended up lying on the floor, Skip said. April looked at the empty safe. It seems that those pesky cats must have robbed us, since they asked you for about all our life savings. You guys must have been blind to their tricks. I guess we got so competitive over the woman we love that we couldn't see they tricked us. Augie sighed. Yeah, I guess we did. Skip sighed as well. My old friend Ben Franklin couldn't have said it better himself. Mudsie nodded. Row, Boo agreed. But how are we going to get the Looney Dooney and our money back? Augie shrugged. Never fear, Augie, Mudsie said. I shall get that car back, or my name isn't Mudsie Muddlemore. Come on, Boo. It's Funky Phantom time. Meow. Boo jumped onto Mudsie's hat and they vanished. Meanwhile, on the road, Top Cat and Benny had been driving the Looney Dooney all the way back to the alley while listening to some funky hip-hop music. This is my jam, Benny. Top Cat bopped his head to the beat. Oh yeah, we did it, TC. Benny said, for the first time we robbed someone and we didn't get caught. Tell me about it, Benny, my boy, said Top Cat. Let's get back to the alley and get the others and blow this money at the mall. Meanwhile, Mudsie and Boo saw Top Cat and Benny driving the Looney Dooney at breakneck speed. "Okay, Boo," Mudsie told his ghost cat. "Just like we rehearsed." "Meow." Boo gave a thumbs up. "It's Funky Phantom time." Mudsie and Boo vanished. "This is great, TC." Benny kept jamming to the music. "We stole all this money and hijacked this car. Now we can live the good life." "That's right, my boy," Top Cat said with a confident look. "No more sleeping in trash cans. We will be living the life of luxury thanks to all these gold coins, dollar bills, and expensive jewelry." Just then, the music switched off, and the Looney Dooney's radio started to act all weird. "What's going on?" Top Cat banged the radio. "Is this thing jammed?" Just then, Mudsie and Boo appeared out of the radio, and Top Cat and Benny screamed. "Ah!" They shouted. "I am Mudsie Muddlemore," Mudsie said in a spooky tone. "The demon of vengeance. I have raken up residence in this car to punish you for stealing it from its rightful owners, possessors, former drivers, even. Benny, jump out!" Top Cat jumped out of the car. "Ditto on that, TC." Benny jumped out with the stolen money and valuables. "Thank you for your cooperation, boys." Mudsie got into the driver's seat. Toodles. "Row." Boo waved back. "Hey, I resent that remark." Top Cat pointed at Boo. Mudsie drove off back home in the Looney Dooney, but TC and Benny were still stranded in the road. "At least we still have the money, TC." Benny held up the stolen treasure. "Looks like we'll have to get to the mall on foot." Top Cat shrugged. Just then, a police car came zooming towards them. Out of the car came none other than Officer Dibble. "Officer Dibble!" Top Cat greeted Dibble. What a surprise! "Hi, Mr. Dibble." Benny waved to Dibble. "Shut up, TC." Dibble banged his billy club. "I just got a report about you and Benny just robbed a nearby house and hijacked their car. Preposterous." Top Cat denied. "We're honest citizens here, Dibble. We bought that car." "With stolen money," Benny exclaimed. "Shut up." TC smacked Benny's head. Would you like to donate to the Feed the Poor People and Orphans Foundation?" Benny nervously asked Dibble. In less than an instant, Dibble threw TC and Benny into his police car and returned the stolen valuables and money to their rightful owners. "Don't worry, kids," Dibble said. "These hooligans will be in jail for the next 3 weeks." As soon as Dibble left, April, Skip, and Augie went to congratulate Mudsie and Boo on a job well done. "Wow, Mudsie, you really got us our stuff back," Augie said. "Way to save the day." "It was no problem." Mudsie looked all shy. "That'll teach those guys not to scam with the Funky Phantom." Everybody just laughed. The end. Author's note. Boy, Mudsie sure as heck showed Top Cat and Benny not to mess with the Funky Phantom and his crew. But what's going on with Velma back at the castle? And why is she acting like an evil genius? Stay tuned and find out. Chapter 10. The curse starts to unfold. After eating the slop served, Scooby, Shaggy, Fred, Daphne, and Madelyn went into town. The villagers were having a party. Jeepers! Daffy looked at the place. "I wonder what's going on." Just then, the Burgermeister turned around and saw the gang and walked up to them. "Ah, it's the American tourists," said Burgermeister. "Oh, and one of the Von Dinkenstein girls. Where is your sister?" "If you must know, Burgermeister, Velma is back at the castle," said Madelyn. "Welcome to the Torch Festival," Burgermeister said. There don't seem to be many out-of-towners at your fair, Burgermeister Burger," said Shaggy. "That is because your girlfriend here and her sister's family's madness has cursed this town, skinny sir," said Burgermeister. Madelyn smiled at Shaggy. "Whoa, whoa, 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 girlfriend." Shaggy interrupted everything. "Madelyn is not my girlfriend." "What?" "Shaggykins, are you breaking up with me?" Madelyn asked. "Break up?" Shaggy shouted. "No, we were never together in the first place. I never liked you anyway. I'd rather jump off a cliff than date you." Everyone, well, except Burgermeister, of course, gasped. They'd never seen Shaggy so abrasive. Madelyn glared at Shaggy. "Fine, I'll just go back to the castle." She stormed off. "Good riddance," Shaggy grunted. "Please, make yourselves welcome," said Burgermeister. Daphne and the guys walked around the fair. Everything looked so medieval and middle-aged. It was like nothing they'd ever seen. While Daphne and Freddie went in different directions, Shaggy and Scooby walked with Burgermeister. They saw something that got their attention. It was some sort of contest. Rogosi eating contest. Scooby read the sign. "That's Gogosi, not Rogosi." Burgermeister corrected Scooby. "Rat's red," I said. Scooby said, "Hey, Burgermeister, what's a Gogosi?" Shaggy asked Burgermeister. "It is our word for the American food, the donut," said Burgermeister. "Donut?" Shaggy and Scooby grinned widely. "I may not speak Transylvanian, but I know a good donut when I see one. Like count us in," said Shaggy. "Rhea, count us in," Scooby agreed. He and Scooby hopped onto the platform and ate all the donuts on their plates. "Woohoo!" they cheered. "He is like one of us," said a man. "Little boy, eat like the rest." Scooby and Shaggy started eating like pigs at the contest, outdoing every other competitor. "I'm gonna need some more chocolate sauce and powdered sugar down here," said Shaggy. Shaggy and Scooby soon defeated their competitors. They won the contest. "Never has one man swallowed so many gogosi," said a villager. "Even the one with fish eggs." "Fish eggs," said Shaggy. Scooby burped. "Rexcuse me." Meanwhile, Daphne ran after Madelyn. She couldn't believe Shaggy would say those awful, hurtful things to her. "Madelyn, come back," she called out. "Where are you going?" "I'm going back to the castle to see what Velma is doing," she said. "That and I don't want to see Shaggy again. I never want to see that insensitive jerk again. Never." Daphne gasped. "Madelyn, all I ever wanted was for him to love me and care for me and notice me. But that idiot doesn't care about me at all. If he doesn't want me, he can't have me." She kept running off. "Madelyn, come back." Daphne ran after her. Daphne eventually caught up with Madelyn and tackled her to the ground. What's the big idea tackling me, Daphne?" Madelyn asked. "Sorry, Madelyn, but how do you explicit me to talk to you?" said Daphne. "Now listen, Shaggy didn't what he said. I'm sure he likes you." "I'm sure he doesn't," said Madelyn. "What makes you say that?" Daphne asked. "Look, I want to be alone," she shouted as her face turned red and tears tells out of her eyes. "And tell that lanky nitwit he can go jump off a cliff, because I don't ever want to see that stupid Shaggy again. In fact, let's end it all right now, Daphne." "Kill me?" "What?" Daphne gasped. "Kill me now. I'm begging you." Madelyn kept crying. "But I can't kill you, Madelyn," Daphne pleaded. "You're my friend and I can't kill people. We're the heroes. We don't kill people." Daphne couldn't believe this. In all her years of fighting bad guys, monsters and solving mysteries, one of her friends actually was contemplating suicide. Madelyn was heartbroken to the point of wanting to be killed. "Just kill me now, Daphne. No one would care anyways." Madelyn started to cry even harder. "I don't want to live anymore. Just do it." "But Madelyn," Daphne tried to reason. "Just do it," she shouted. "I want to die." "Look, Madelyn." Daphne put her hands on Madelyn's shoulders. "I know you're sad right now, but Velma is my best friend, and she'd never forgive me if I killed her little sister. Do it, now." Madelyn continued sobbing and saw a nearby wooden bar. "Hit with this piece of wood." Daphne sighed. "Okay." Daphne started to swing the board and was about to hit Madelyn. But at the last minute, "Wait, stop." Madelyn karate kicked Daphne in the stomach. Daphne was sent sliding and crashed against a garbage can. "Oh my God!" Madelyn ran to Daphne. "Daphne, are you okay?" "Yes, I am. But what the heck was that all about?" said Daphne, rubbing her head. "I'm sorry. I just said I wanted you to kill me. I didn't think you were actually going to go through with it." Madelyn shrugged. "I wasn't. I was trying to scare some sense into you." Daphne said. Oh, said Madelyn, although that was a nice kick. I didn't know you knew karate, said Daphne. Me either. Madelyn shrugged again. Madelyn, maybe there is a way you can get Shaggy to like you, said Daphne. There's still hope? Madelyn smiled widely. Sure, maybe you need to change your wardrobe. Come on, I'll buy you something new to wear, said Daphne. All right, let's go, she said. Daphne and Madelyn walked along the town and found a little shop. They went inside. Daphne saw a good-looking dress. Oh, this is adorable. She looked at the shop owner. Excuse me, could I see this in a size 2? To buy? Hey, I thought you were here to make me feel better. Madelyn yelled at Daphne. Not try on clothes. Sorry, we don't serve on Dinkenstons, said the shop owner. Oh, come on, said Madelyn. Even you hate my family. You discriminate against us? Fine. If I'm not welcome in your store, you're not welcome in my castle. Madelyn Dinkley von Dinkenstein is out. Peace. Madelyn walked away folding her arms. Okay, then I guess that's that, said Daphne. I am not with her anyways. Never seen her in my life. So could I see this dress in a size 2? To buy? Why? Said the shop owner. Fräulein, at the very least you're an 8. An 8? Asked Daphne. I mean, an 8? I don't think so. Ja, and here's the only one in that size. The store owner handed Daphne the dress. When Daphne was done putting the dress on, she looked in the mirror. It fit perfectly and her hair was a mess. Jeepers, it does fit. She then saw her reflection. What? I'm an 8? I mean 8. And what's going on with my hair? This frizz. I use a sulfate-free smoothing shampoo. What is happening? I'm ugly. Daphne, stop being such a drama queen. Madelyn sighed. It's really no big deal. It's just a dress. So what if your hair is a little messed up? A little messed up? Daphne grabbed Madelyn by the shirt. Don't you realize what this means? That you're a spoiled, rotten brat like your son? Madelyn asked sarcastically. No, she shouted again. I'm ugly. Daphne collapsed down on the floor and started whining like a stupid baby. Madelyn was sulking on her way back to the castle. Boy, this is pathetic. Madelyn slapped her forehead. I'm depressed. Shaggy will never my boyfriend. My sister has gone cuckoo, and I am in a town where people hate me. Someday I'm having. Can't get any worse. Suddenly it started raining. Seriously? She asked. Oh, come on. Meanwhile, Shaggy and Scooby were getting rewarded by Burgermeister. You two have prevailed in scarfing down by the thousands, our culture's signature treat, said Burgermeister. To reward you, we present you with our signature garb, 2 sets of traditional lederhosen. He held up 2 sets of lederhosens. The short leather pant is durable and allows for freedom of movement, where the suspenders hold them up for a secure fit, and they have all the traditional embellishments. A latpunt, the messer socks, and even a schlitzfleck. Shaggy and Scooby put on their new outfits. Like, man, these threads are out of sight, said Shaggy. Rhea, said Scooby. Out of sight. They sure do take the cake, or should I say the go-go-see, said Shaggy. And now, we shall reward you once more, said Burgermeister. A nearby villager handed Burgermeister some sausages, which Burgermeister handed to Shaggy and Scooby. A delicious Blutenwursten, a Transylvanian blood sausage. The signature cured meat of our culture. It is to be eaten immediately, said Burgermeister. Look, Scoob, it's you and me made out of sausage. Shaggy pointed to the meat. Like no problem there, Mr. Burgermeister. We love anything made into sausage, said Shaggy. Rah, said Scooby. We sure do. Shaggy grabbed a sausage and poured some mustard on it. Ah, okay, here we go. First big bite, he said. But then he stopped. I'm not hungry. Me neither, said Scooby. I'm sorry, Mr. Burgermeister. This like never happens. But Scoob and I are totally full. We couldn't eat another bite, said Shaggy. You dare reject the Blutenwurster? Said Burgermeister. That is greatest insult. No, it's not an insult. It's a compliment. Shaggy tried to tell them, we can't eat your signature cured meat because we're so full of your signature treat. Yeah, a compliment, said Scooby. We'll eat them when we're hungry again. It is an insult and you know it, said Burgermeister. This is an insult indeed, said a villager. You two are worse than those disgusting von Dinkenstein girls, said another villager. No, no, Shaggy pleaded. You don't understand. But the ignorant and melodramatic villagers didn't want to listen. They got even angrier the more Shaggy tried to explain. Let's run these two out of town, said another villager. Seize them! Burgermeister pointed at Shaggy and Scooby. Shaggy and Scooby walked away backwards slowly. Burgermeister and the villagers walked towards them, torches raised. Run, Scoob! Shaggy started to run away. Right behind you, Raggy! Scooby ran behind Shaggy. Meanwhile, things weren't going well for Freddy. You've got a torch in Transylvania. He was reading some bumper sticker. Oh, that's rich. This bumper sticker would be perfect. On the mystery machine's bumper. He then remembered what happened to the van. Sigh? I guess not. Everything reminds me of her. He saw an antenna ball. She would have loved this antenna ball. He sobbed and walked away. If you think that was going bad, Shaggy and Scooby had some problems of their own. Chapter 11. Angry Mobs and Betrayal. Madelyn was walking the road when suddenly Iago appeared in his carriage. There you are, other von Dinkenstein girl. He said, Iago, what's the rush? Asked Madelyn. Your sister. She need help, said Iago. We must round up your friends at once. Okay, said Madelyn, and she climbed around the carriage. Meanwhile, Shaggy and Scooby were still being chased by the angry and insane villagers. Like run, Scoob! Shaggy kept running. Reich, I can help it. Scooby kept running as well. They ran as fast as they could, and they bumped into Fred. Hey, Shaggy. Hey, Scooby, he said to them. Wait, are you guys wearing lederhosen? Hey, Fred. Shaggy stammered. Sorry, Scoob and me don't have time to chat, but we couldn't eat the Blutenwurster and now Burgermeister is after us. Rhea. Scooby nodded. Run that through me one more time. Fred looked at them confused. Me and Scooby entered this donut-eating contest and won. So Burgermeister gave us these lederhosen and some sausages. But Scooby and I couldn't eat the sausages because we're too full from all those donuts. And now, Burgermeister and the villagers want to kill us. Shaggy explained. They want to kill you guys. Just because you're full? Fred asked. Yeah, like they sausages pretty seriously here, man. Shaggy panicked. Even I'm not that obsessed, Scooby added. So why are you guys suddenly full? Fred asked. You'll eat anything. You guys never stop eating. Like you don't think it's the Baron curse, do ya? Asked Shaggy. Oh man, we've lost our appetites. Literary? They were the one thing we loved the most. We've literally lost our appetites. And now because of that, we're going to lose our lives, said Scooby. Oh no, you're not, said Fred. I'm gonna get you out of here. Let's get to the Mystery Maw. Oh yeah. Still thinking about the van, huh? Shaggy pointed out. No matter how hard Fred tried, he couldn't stop thinking about the mystery machine. Maybe this was part of the curse. Suddenly, Daphne appeared. Boys? Asked Daphne. Daphne, Fred and Shaggy exclaimed. Raphne, said Scooby exclaimed as well. Fred, don't look at me. Daphne tried to block their view with her hand. I'm hideous. I'm a monster. The guys moved Daphne's hand and saw her new look. Zoinks, Daphne. You look different, exclaimed Shaggy. You don't have to rub it in, Norville. Daphne tried to look away. He wasn't rubbing it in. Scooby tried to defend Shaggy. You look a little bigger, said Shaggy. I know, Daphne whined. Are you guys wearing Letterson? Rhea. Scooby nodded. It's starting to ride up my butt, Shaggy remarked. We're not the only ones with clothes. Scooby pointed to Daphne. Rice Rest Raphne. Thanks, Scooby. But look at how fat I am. Daphne kept whining like a baby. Like, quit being a stupid baby, Daphne. What about us? Shaggy asked. There are villagers out there trying to kill us. Why? Daphne asked. What are you talking about? Scooby and I entered this donut eating contest and we won, Shaggy explained. Yeah, so? Daphne asked. So, Shaggy continued, they wanted us to eat some sort of sausage, but we were totally full. We tried to explain, but the villagers thought we were insulting their ways, and they decided to form an angry mob and kill us. You guys were full? Daphne asked. And what's wrong with you, Daph? Shaggy asked Daphne. You look kind of fat. Yeah, chubby even, Scooby added. Rhyme's starting to sound like Rutsy. Hey, guys, Fred scolded Shaggy and Scooby. That wasn't nice. Oops, sorry, Daphne. Shaggy blushed. Rory, Scooby added. It's okay, guys. It's not your fault, said Daphne. I think it's the Baron's curse. I think it might be real. Shaggy, right now I think the curse is the least of our problems, said Fred. He pointed down the road. The curse. Scooby shivered. Oh, wait. Rye already knew that. Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby looked where Fred was pointing. Zoinks! Shaggy exclaimed. Ruble roinks! Scooby added. Burgermeister and the villagers had found them. There you are! He glared at the gang. Jeepers! They look really mad! Daphne stammered. Hey, this town's surges make good torches. They still lit in the rain, said Shaggy, pointing at the torches. They hadn't been put out. But how can they still be lit? Daphne questioned. Water's supposed to douse fire, which is a real bummer for me and Scooby, Shaggy said. Rhea? Scooby nodded. Villagers, Burgermeister said. Attack! Freddy, we've got to do something. Daphne shook Freddy. Right, Daphne, said Fred. He stepped in front of Shaggy and Scooby. If you villagers want to get to my friends, you'll have to get by me first. Kill all 3 men, Burgermeister ordered. No, don't, Daphne pleaded. Her too, said Burgermeister, pointing to Daphne. What? But I didn't do anything, Daphne protested. Suddenly, Iago rode by in his wagon. Iago? The gang asked. You come with me, he said. You will be safe. Sounds like a plan. Shaggy panicked. Rhea plan. Scooby nodded. The gang jumped into the carriage at the speed of light. They saw that Madelyn was there. Hey, Madelyn, said Daphne. Hey, guys. Madelyn waved at them. Hey, Mads, said Shaggy. Oh, hello, Shaggy. Madelyn turned away from Shaggy. What's with her? Shaggy asked. Everyone glared at him. Seriously? Scooby asked. Yeah, you yelled at her. Daphne poked Shaggy in the stomach. You really hurt Madelyn's feelings, Freddy added. If Velma was here, she'd beat you senseless. Daphne continued. You know how much she loves her sister and protective she is of her. Oh yeah, said Shaggy. Maybe I should apologize. Maybe. Fred, Daphne, and Scooby yelled at him. Okay, I'm going to apologize, said Shaggy. Hey, Mads, I'm sorry about what I said earlier. No, Shaggy, you don't have to apologize. You were just being honest. Madelyn glared at him, not believing him. Do you think you can forgive me? Asked Shaggy. Oh no, you're not off that easy. You hurt me. Now I'm going to make you hurt as much as me. Madelyn punched Shaggy square in the face. The gang all gasped. Raggy, rare you okay? Asked Scooby. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Shaggy got dizzy from the punch. Ray, that's a Rid of and Rover reaction, won't you think? Scooby asked. An overreaction? Daphne shouted. Madelyn wanted me to kill her. You call that overreacting? Calm down, Daphne, said Madelyn. And that's a nice dress you've got on. Are you nuts? Daphne screamed at Madelyn. My beauty is gone. Daphne started breaking down and sobbing like a stupid baby once again. Forget what I said about Rattle and Rover reacting. Scooby remarked. No, really, Daphne. I think it's a good dress, said Madelyn. Although you look a little big. And what happened to you hair? Your family's stupid curse has gotten to me. I should have let you have it, Daphne cruelly told her. At least I'd still be beautiful and you'd be even more ugly. Oh, really? What about Velma would never forgive me? Asked Madelyn. Now that makes you ugly and stupid, Daphne exclaimed. We'll see about that, Madelyn growled. Daphne got ready to attack Madelyn. Fred got between the two girls. Whoa, ladies, let's settle down. Freddie tried to calm them down. Stay out of it, Fred. They both pushed him out of the way. Zoinks! Shaggy exclaimed. Looks like a chick fight. Daphne and Madelyn started fighting like cats and dogs. It was getting ugly. Pig-tailed geek! Daphne slapped Madelyn's cheek. Ow! Stuck-up cow! Madelyn bopped Daphne's head. Ouch! Barbarian! Daphne hit Madelyn in the stomach. Oof! Snob! Madelyn kicked Daphne in the stomach. The fighting just wouldn't stop. Maybe you should get a makeover and maybe Shaggy, or any guy at all, will like you. Daphne tried pushing back Madelyn's head. Oh yeah? Well, maybe you should stop spending time in the beauty salon and more time catering to others' needs. Madelyn tried to push Daphne's head back. You spoiled, rotten bimbo. Why you good for nothing, backstabbing, von Dinkenstein? Daphne grabbed Madelyn by the neck and strangled her. Daphne, stop! You'll kill her! Fred gasped. Great! Daphne shouted. Iago quickly swerved the carriage around and broke up the fight. What the heck, Iago? Asked Daphne. Please forgive Iago, red-haired girl. Iago could no let you kill one of the von Dinkenstein girls, said Iago. Look like we've ditched Burgerminister and his torch squad, said Shaggy, looking out the window and noticing that Burgerminister and the villagers were long gone. Thanks for getting Daphne off me, Iago, said Madelyn. You welcome, pig-tailed von Dinkenstein, said Iago. And thanks for saving us, said Shaggy. Rhea, said Scooby. No, Skinny Boy and Strange Talking Dog, said Iago. You and the others must save your friend. Velma now insane. That's right. Iago says that Velma is acting weird back at the castle, said Madelyn. Hold the phone. Fred held up his hand. What are you doing? We're not sure. Madelyn shrugged. Come, we must return to the castle at once, said Iago. They rode back to the castle. Hey, Daphne. I'm sorry I fought with you, said Madelyn. I'm sorry too, Madelyn, said Daphne. They both hugged. Can we cut this mushfest and figure out what's with Velma? Shaggy asked. Her mind gone. Velma now insane, Iago shouted. Hey, you don't think that Velma has been claimed by her family's curse, do you? Asked Daphne. Let's go find out, said Fred. Iago rode the carriage back to the castle. He whipped the horses and, Ray, Radelyn, Rodis Rian Raggy's Redirosin, said Scooby. Actually, Scooby, I haven't even noticed that you and Shaggy are both wearing lederhosen, mostly because of how mad I am with Shaggy, said Madelyn. Hey, me and Scooby won these lederhosen in a donut-eating contest, said Shaggy. Really? Asked Madelyn. Really? Shaggy and Scooby nodded. Burgerminister gave them to us, along with some sausages to eat. But we couldn't eat them, and he and the villagers wanted to kill us, said Shaggy. Really? Asked Madelyn, who got a sneaky look. Iago, stop the carriage, now! Iago stopped the carriage. Madelyn hopped out. What's she doing? Asked Shaggy. Madelyn? Daphne yelled to Madelyn. You stop and get back in this wagon right now. Madelyn saw Burgermeister and the villagers. Hey, Burgermeister! Burgerminster, and the villagers looked at Madelyn. Von Dinkenstein girl, what do you want? Demanded Burgermeister. You know my skinny friend and his talking dog who wouldn't eat your sausages. They're in that carriage. Madelyn pointed at the carriage. Daphne, Fred, Shaggy, Scooby, and Iago looked at her in shock. Madelyn had betrayed them for revenge on Shaggy. Madelyn! They shouted at her. Madelyn ran back to the carriage and shouted, Come and get us if you can! The villagers started running after the carriage. She looked at the others. What? She asked. Like, how could you sell your sister's friends out like that? Asked Shaggy. Now those villagers know where we are and they'll be coming after us. Daphne poked Madelyn. It will be worth it to see Shaggy suffer after what he's done to me, said Madelyn. Step on it, Iago. Iago tried to explain. Iago don't now, Madelyn ordered. Iago sent the carriage off. Burgermeister and the villagers chased after the carriage. You cannot escape. We can see where you hoodlums are going, he said, looking at the castle. Chapter 12. Dr. Velmenstein's Monster. Scooby, Shaggy, Fred, Daphne, Madelyn, and Iago soon arrived back at the castle. They saw Mrs. Vanders. Oh no! Fred slapped his head and covered his eyes. Not you again. What? Mrs. Vanders evilly glared at Fred. Nothing, Fred stammered. Mrs. Vanders, you might want to hide. Shaggy shivered. Why? She asked. There's an angry mob of villagers out to get us, Shaggy explained. And they know we're here. How? Asked Mrs. Vanders. Ask her, said Daphne, pointing at Madelyn. Von Dinkenstein girl? Vanders looked at Velma. What is she talking about? It's Dinkley. And I may have gotten Burgermeister and the villagers to follow us here. Madelyn got a sly look. You what? Gotten Hemmel. What are you mad? They will kill us all, Vanders yelled. Like, where's her sister? Whimpered Shaggy. She has been in lab for long time, said Mrs. Vanders. I will take you to her. You heard Miss Farty Pants, gang, said Fred. Let's follow her to Velma. What did you say? Mrs. Vanders glared at Fred. Fred got nervous. He didn't say anything. Daphne ran to block Fred. Didn't you, Freddy? No, I didn't. Fred smiled widely. Okay then, said Mrs. Vanders. They walked down the hallway and arrived at a giant door. Stand back, everyone. I'm going to break this door down, said Fred. He ran into the door. Oof! Nothing happened. That door is solid as a rock, said Fred. Too thick for even Shaggy's head. Hey, Shaggy shouted. Velma! Velma, please let us in, said Daphne, banging on the door. Velma opened. She was wearing a tight velvet dress and a Bride of Frankenstein wig. Welcome, she said. Everyone was surprised by Velma's new look. Jeepers, Velma, look at your hair, Daphne exclaimed. Velma touched the wig and gave her a death glare. I mean, it's not that bad. Daphne lied. Are you kidding? It's worse than yours. Madelyn laughed. Daphne got angry. Why don't you go to... Daphne? I am pretty sure you don't want to insult Velma's sister right in front of her, Freddie pointed out. Plus, this is a story for kids. Okay then, Daphne pouted. Looks like you've all had a busy night. Come in, come in. Velma smiled evilly. The others entered lab. Velma, we've got to get out of here right now, said Daphne, grabbed Velma's arm. Yeah, Burgermeister is angry that me and Scooby couldn't eat his blood sausages and now he wants our blood, said Shaggy. And they know we're here. In a minute, Daphne. Velma closed the door. Right now, you're just in time for my greatest triumph. So, you've debunked the legend of the Von Dinkenstein monster? Asked Daphne. Wrong. Quite the opposite, said Velma. I am now convinced that the Baron was right. He was a genius. This monster can be brought to life. It will live. But like Velma, your whole life's about rejecting the supernatural and magic and all that weirdness, said Shaggy. This isn't weirdness. This is science, Velma boasted. Come on, Velma. We've got to back to Coolsville. Shaggy begged. Burgermeister could be here any minute. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. Open up, said a voice. The others recognized it. It was Burgermeister. Rono, Rugereister, Scooby gasped. Like me and my big mouth, said Shaggy. We saw the strange lights in the castle. We know shenanigans are afoot. We know what you Von Dinkenstein girls are up to. We demand to be let in this very minute. Burgermeister banged on the door. No, I won't let you stand in the way of science, Velma shouted back. We'll put a stop to you and your creature, said Burgermeister. Let's a ramming begin. Iago, quickly, the generator, said Velma. walking over to the ledge. "It's official. My sister's cracked," whispered Madelyn. "I'll go find something to tie her up," whispered Fred. "Tie her up?" Madelyn whispered loudly. "And I thought I was an overreactor. It's for her own good." Freddie put his hand on Madelyn's shoulder. "But I don't want to tie up my big sister," Madelyn whispered back. "I love her." While the villagers kept ramming the door, Iago turned on the generator. "Turn on the centrifuge," Velma ordered. Iago turned on the centrifuge. "Okay, here's a rope," whispered Madelyn, handing the boys a rope. "Tie her to something and slap her with water now before I change my mind. On the count of 3, let's jump her," whispered Fred. "Where did she find that?" whispered Scooby. Fred walked over to where Velma was. The villagers banged on the door again. "Now the humidifier!" Velma slapped Fred, causing him to fall over. Luckily, Scooby and Mrs. Vanders broke his fall. "Thanks, Scooby," said Fred. "Want wrench in it ready," said Scooby. "What about me?" asked Mrs. Vanders. Iago turned on the humidifier. Water rained on the gang. "No, no more monster. I can't take it," screamed Daphne, covering her head. The villagers banged on the door once again. "Raise the platform," shouted Velma. The villagers banged on the door one more time and broke the door with their battering ram. "Zoinks," said Shaggy. "Scoob, guess who's here?" "Ruh-roh," said Scooby, pushing Fred off him and jumping into Daphne's arms. Iago raised the platform with the ice cube monster on it. Lighting hit the ice cube. There were lights going on and off. Everyone stood in shock. When the lights were back on and the dust settled, everyone looked around. The platform was back. The ice cube was gone. The monster was free. "Is everyone okay?" asked Freddie. "Like, let me check," said Shaggy. "Scooby-Doo, are you okay?" "Rhea," said Scooby. "Rim okay?" "Scooby's good, and so am I." "And Fred?" "He's okay. Daphne's looking a little weird. And Velma? Hoo-hoo, totally nuts," he said, looking at Velma. "Shut up," Madelyn shouted. "Madelyn's okay," said Shaggy. "Like you care." Madelyn put her hands on her hips. "Burger Minister and Angry Mob, they're all good," said Shaggy. "Which isn't goog for us. Iago." "Ow! Iago stubbed toe," said Iago as he picked up his foot. "Iago stubbed toe," said Shaggy. "Mrs. Vanders." "Fine," said Mrs. Vanders. "Mrs. Vanders, fine." Shaggy walked over to Von Dinkenstein's monster. Von Dinkenstein's monster. "Oh, got a little bit of freezer burn, I think." "Monster?" "Yes. It's alive, it's alive," Velma shouted. "It's alive, really?" "Don't worry," said Fred. "I've got an iron-reinforced net in the back of the mystery mock." "You're really not moving on, are you?" asked Daphne. "No, I'm not." Fred looked down. Velma was looking at her uncle's monster. "My dead, precious monster." Velma smiled evilly. "You're alive again. If only you had a living brain. I feel oddly not afraid," said Shaggy. "Rah, me too," said Scooby. Fred, Daphne, and Velma were surprised. Shaggy and Scooby were in the presence of a monster, and they didn't look scared. "Jeepers, guys," Daphne exclaimed. "I've never seen you guys so brave." "We've seen you guys brave before, but this really is a shocker," Fred added. "Like, hi there, Mr. Frankencreep. You must be hungry. Have a Scooby snack," said Shaggy, handing him a box of Scooby snacks. "It always makes us feel better." "It sure does," said Scooby. "They're named after me." The Frankencreep pushed the box away. "No thanks. I'm good. He really stinks, huh?" Shaggy smiled nervously. "Let's hope he can't see his reflection because he's pretty hideous too." "No, don't turn away. Look at yourself." "You're beautiful," said Velma. "Lucky we brought our torches," said Burgermeister. "Let's get him." The Frankencreep roared at Burgermeister and the villagers, putting out all their torches. "Oh, sure. Now the torches go out," Shaggy rolled his eyes. "Run!" Burgermeister shouted. They all ran off. The monster ran after them. "You fools! You've ruined everything!" shouted Velma. And then she turned to Daphne. "Jinkies, Daphne, you look so scary." "Huh?" Daphne looked in the mirror. I'm hideous." She looked even more fat and ugly than she was before. "No, don't turn away. Look at yourself. You're beautiful," said Velma. "Really?" said Daphne, starting to smile. "No." Velma made a smirk. Daphne was shocked and shouted at Madelyn, "You and your sister are so mean," and then ran off crying. "You are a monster, Velma," said Fred. "Daphne, come back." Chapter 13. To catch a Frankencreep. Velma was definitely furious. Her monster got away. She wanted it back. She turned to Fred. "You've got to find my creation, Fred. Find it before those fools do," Velma ordered. "I'm sorry, but without the mystery machine, I'm no monster trapper." "I'm nothing," said Fred as he left the lab in despair. "Jinkies," said Velma. "I've never seen Freddy so broken up." "Don't worry, Velma." Shaggy walked up to Velma. "Scooby and I will find him for you." "You will? You're volunteering to go after a monster, to go toward the danger." "Oh," asked Velma. "Yep," said Shaggy. "Great. I'll get the Scooby snacks," said Velma. "No thanks, not hungry," said Shaggy. "Rhea, not hungry." Scooby agreed. "Huh?" Velma asked. "That's not normal," Madelyn asked her sister. "I've known them longer than you have," said Velma. "Come on, Scoob," Shaggy said to Scooby. "Let's go catch the monster." "Right behind you, Raggy." Scooby ran out the lab after Shaggy. "I need my monster back," Velma said evilly. "With my monster, I will prove that monsters and supernatural creatures are real, and the world will be mine. Mwah, ha, 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 ha." "Velma, why are you acting so evil all of a sudden?" Madelyn asked. "This isn't like you. I admit, Daphne deserved that insult. But what's your problem? I thought you didn't believe in paranormal stuff." "That was before we came here, dear sister," said Velma. "Oh no, the family curse must have taken away your smarts." Madelyn gasped. "Don't worry, sis. I'll help you get your smarts back." Meanwhile, Fred was still sad about losing the mystery machine. He was so sad he didn't notice the room he entered. Without the mystery machine, I'm useless as a mystery solver and as a man. I'm just nothing without my machine. Without the mystery machine, I'm not a good mystery solver. I don't know what I am anymore," he said, and he fell down on the floor and cried. Meanwhile, Daphne was still crying like a big baby. "How could Velma say that to me? I thought I was her friend." Daphne kept sobbing. Suddenly, she realized that she was a room full of broken mirrors. "Ah, wahaha," she sobbed, looking at her reflection. Suddenly, the Baron's ghost appeared in one of the mirrors. Say, I warned you and your friends not to come here. Now you have brought the curse down upon your heads. Each of you will lose what you hold most dear." He cackled. "Is that why I lost my looks?" said Daphne. "Because I'm cursed? Give me back my beauty, you creep." Daphne picked up a rock and threw it at the mirror the Baron was in. The rock destroyed. However, Daphne found something incredible. Oh, jeepers. A secret tunnel. She looked at the tunnel, and it looks pretty creepy, but anything beats 1,000 broken mirrors on a bad hair day. And so, she walked through the tunnel. Meanwhile, Shaggy and Scooby had been searching all over the castle for the monster. "Oh, Mr. Monster," Shaggy called out. "Where are you?" "Come out and play," Scooby added. "Hey, Scoob, I don't know if you've noticed it, but I'm feeling sorta, brave," said Shaggy. "Yeah, me too," said Scooby. "Like even that shadow of the Frankencreep doesn't scare me." Shaggy pointed at the monstrous shadow on the wall. The Frankencreep was in front of them. "Hey!" Shaggy exclaimed. "The Frankencreep? Let's get him, Scooby." Scooby and Shaggy chased after the Frankencreep over the course of a montage. Of course, readers, we were too lazy to write this montage, so we'll just skip to the good parts. After the chase, the monster was hit with a tranquilizer dart and was out cold. Scooby and Shaggy looked and saw Velma holding a tranquilizer dart gun. "Zoinks, Velma! You got here fast!" exclaimed Shaggy. "Yeah, and in this dress, too." Velma put her hands on her hips. "Hey, what about me?" shouted a voice. It was Madelyn. She was with her. "Oh, hey, Mads," waved Shaggy. Said Madelyn. "Well, it looks like our work here is done, Scoob," Shaggy said to Scooby. "Not quite," said Velma. Shot Shaggy and Scooby with 2 more darts. Scooby got all dizzy and sleepy. "Scooby, Dooby, good night." Scooby fell asleep to the ground. "Hey, why did you shoot Shaggy and Scooby?" asked Madelyn. "I need them," said Velma, evilly. "Listen, sis, I wanted Shaggy to pay for what he did to me, but I didn't want you to shoot him." Madelyn said, "What's going on?" "You'll see, sister dear." Velma cackled. Chapter 14. Drains in the Brain. Fred was still crying about losing the mystery machine when suddenly he stopped and said, "Hey, where am I anyway?" He looked around the room he was in. There were supplies everywhere. "Oh wow, look at all this stuff. These could come in handy." He picked up the materials. "So could this, and I know just how to use it all." He got to work. Meanwhile, Daphne was searching the tunnel. You'll never believe what she found. Mining equipment. Who left all this old mining equipment here? She wondered. Wait a minute. This stuff doesn't look old at all. Jeepers. There's something going on here that doesn't quite meet the eye. Suddenly, the Baron's ghost appeared out of nowhere. So, you've stumbled upon my secret, have you? A pity I can't allow you to tell anyone about it." He boomed. "Arr!" Daphne screamed. Meanwhile, Fred heard Daphne's scream. "Daphne, she's in trouble. It sounds like it came out." He saw a vent. "There!" Fred climbed into the vent and searched for Daphne. "Keep cool, Fred," he thought. "Think. These old air vents connect to every room in the castle, but based on that echo and air density, and moisture, Daphne must be in some kind of subterranean cave or tunnel. Hang on, Daph. I'm coming." Meanwhile, Scooby and Shaggy woke up to see they were back in Velma's lab. "Morning, Raggy," yawned Scooby. "Good morning, Scoob," said Shaggy. "Oh, that's weird. I don't remember going to bed." Scooby and Shaggy saw that they were strapped to a wooden table. They saw the Frankencreep strapped to another wooden table beside them. "So, V, I stopped falling out of bed like months ago. Why do you have us strapped in here?" said Shaggy. "Don't worry. I've deduced that the monster's brain is defective. I just need to provide some additional cerebral material to correct the problem," said Velma. "Brains?" Shaggy asked. "Where are you gonna get brains?" asked Scooby. "Why, out of you two, of course." Velma pointed at the guys. "Wes!" Shaggy and Scooby gasped. "Like, why do you need to take both our brains?" Shaggy stammered. "According to my calculations, between the two of you, you almost have one entire brain. I must say you're taking this rather well," said Velma, dropping 2 helmets onto Scooby's and Shaggy's head. "Shaggy, are you sure that you and Scooby want to through with this? You can still say you'll be mine," asked Madelyn. "I'm sorry for raiding you guys out to Burgermeister, and that punch in the face. I love you so much, and I want you to love me back. I will free you if you agree to be mine." "Well, Velma," Shaggy started to talk. "You know I always say there's no point in getting all bent out of shape over every little—" Ooh! The Frankencreep ripped Shaggy's and Scooby's lederhosen. "Zoinks! Ha ha ha! My new outfit!" Shaggy chuckled. "Oh, actually, I am starting to feel a little better." "Me too," Scooby added. "Those things were a tight fit," said Shaggy. "It was riding up my butt." "Shaggy, I'm hungry," said Scooby. "Oh boy, like all of a sudden I'm pretty starving myself, buddy." "Old pal," said Shaggy. "Iago, bring me the brain extractor," ordered Velma. "Yeah, Iago, like a good assistant would have anticipated that she needed the brain," said Shaggy. "What am I saying?" "Hiya!" Scooby and Shaggy screamed. "No!" Madelyn grabbed Iago and lifted him off the ground. "Madelyn, what are you doing?" asked Velma. "I'm not going to let you guys do this to Shaggy and Scooby," said Madelyn. Shaggy and Scooby smiled. Ha! See, Velma? Even she thinks you've gone crazy. Shaggy pointed at Velma. Madelyn, please. If this works, we'll change the world, said Velma. Our uncle will be avenged. Madelyn stood still and faced up to her sister. And if Shaggy no longer has a brain, he'll let you hug and kiss him all you want, said Velma. Really? Asked Madelyn, dropping Iago on the floor. You'd do that for me? What? Screamed Shaggy. Velma, Scooby shouted back. You heard Velma, Iago. Fire up the brain extractor, said Madelyn. Sorry, Shaggykins. You and Scooby are on your own. Madelyn left the lab, skipping with joy. Velma turned on the brain extractor and it started zapping Shaggy and Scooby's skulls. Zoo! Pinkass! Shaggy screamed. Once Madelyn left the lab, she walked down a corridor. Suddenly she looked and saw the shop owner. Hey, I thought I said you weren't welcome here, said Madelyn. Mrs. Vanders, we have an intruder. Mrs. Vanders. She isn't coming, said a voice. Madelyn turned around and saw Inspector Crunch. Inspector Crunch? What are you doing here? Asked Madelyn. Making sure you won't ruin our plan, said Inspector Crunch. He and the shop owner walked towards Madelyn. Crunch dropped his duster. A hand popped out where it once was. Hey, you really do have a second hand, said Madelyn. That's right, pig-tailed Von Dinkenstein girl, said Inspector Crunch. The store owner grabbed Madelyn and pinned her arm behind her back. Hey, let go of me! Madelyn screamed. Velma, Iago, help! Don't bother, pig-tailed Von Dinkenstein girl. They cannot hear you, said Inspector Crunch, who walked over and ripped a hole in the right sleeve of Madelyn's shirt. Hey, man, not cool, said Madelyn. Inspector Crunch pulled out a tranquilizer dart and inserted it in the rip in Madelyn's shirt, poking right in the arm. Ow! That hurts, said Madelyn. And suddenly she drifted off to sleep. Crunch and the store owner then carried Madelyn out of the castle. Yeads, good work! Now the pig-tailed girl is out cold. The mystery solvers are doomed. The store owner cackled. Chapter 15. The Baron Cometh. When we last left our heroes, Shaggy and Scooby were strapped to a table of Velma's evil laboratory and were about to have their brains sucked out. Meanwhile, Madelyn was knocked out by Inspector Crunch and was taken somewhere, and Daphne was in trouble as always. Oh, she said, running while the Baron's ghost chased her. Soon he cornered her on top of a shed. You are trapped, my darling, cackled the Baron. I don't think so, you grimy ghost, said Daphne, jumping off shed. Oof! She landed on the ground. No, said the Baron, jumping to the ground. I told you that you would never escape. No, you didn't, said Daphne. Silence, and I shall seal your doom, the Baron shouted. Bwah ha 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 ha. Hey, Baron, guess again, said a voice. Daphne and the Baron looked and saw Fred standing armed with a rake and a shovel. I'm gonna clean your clock. Fred pointed the shovel at the Baron. Freddy, look out, shouted Daphne. Soon, Fred and the Baron were dueling it out until finally the Baron knocked Fred down. Heh, heh, heh. You will lose this fight in your life, Freddy Jones, just as you lost your precious mystery machine, said the Baron. You jerk! Fred, collapsing in defeat, and started sobbing more. Fred, get up! Daphne grabbed his shirt and shook him. I'm sorry, Daphne, I can't. Fred sobbed again. Don't do it for me, Fred, said Daphne, holding out the mystery machine's keys. Do it for her! Fred jumped to his feet and punched the Baron right in the face. The Baron fell down with a thud. Daphne jabbed at his cape with the rake. This isn't over, said the Baron. And with that, he disappeared. Wow! I didn't think I could do it without the mystery machine. But I guess I could do it for her. Fred turned to Daphne. Are you okay, Daphne? Oh, Freddy, you're my mystery machine. Daphne snuggled up to him. Although I'm sorry the curse has given you such a damaged damsel to rescue. You mean the mystery machine? He asked. No, Fred, me. Daphne laid her head down. I look so awful. You're kidding, said Fred. I didn't even notice. You always look great to me, Daphne. Really? Asked Daphne. Oh. They tried to hug, but something occurred to them. Oh, they said and looked away. Then Daphne noticed something about the Baron's cape. Freddie, look at the Baron's cape, she said, feeling it. This fabric is a synthetic blend. I'd recognize it anywhere. This should be real silk. So maybe the Baron isn't a Baron at all. Maybe he's not even a ghost. Suddenly the mind rumbled. Hold on, said Fred, grabbing Daphne. Rocks fell on them. Ah, said Daphne and Fred. Ha 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 ha, laughed the Baron's disembodied voice. Meanwhile, back in the lab, Velma was still getting ready to suck Shaggy and Scooby's brains out. Oh, and Velma had put Shaggy's back on his body. I don't know how she managed it with the straps and all either. Velma, Shaggy stammered. You don't want to do this. Yeah, we're your friends, Scooby stammered back. I'm sorry, but I have to do, Velma said. I'm already this close to avenging my dear great-uncle, and when I do, the world will be mine. Mwah, ha 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 ha. Please, Velma, don't take our brains, said Shaggy. We need what little we have. Rhea! Scooby panicked. I need Rain. Suddenly, Iago stepped in front of Velma. No, Mistress Velma, he pleaded. It's wrong to take brains. Velma lifted him up and threw him across the room. Ow, said Iago. He landed with a thud. Get ready to make your contribution to the greatest scientific accomplishment ever. Velma cackled. Meanwhile, Madelyn was waking up. She felt very groggy. Where am I? She asked. What's going on? Somewhere where you can't interfere without plans, said a voice. Who's there? She gasped. She tried to move her arms. Nothing. There was something wrapped around. She realized she was in a dark room. Hello, it's dark in here, she shouted. It felt like she was sitting down on something. Suddenly the lights went on. Madelyn looked down and saw that she was tied to a chair with thick rope. Her wrists were tied behind back, her ankles were tied to the legs, and her upper torso was tied to the chair. She struggled to get loose. Then she saw a figure standing by her. Who are you? And why have you kidnapped me? She demanded. I am a member of a group of people who want revenge, said the figure. Revenge? Madelyn shouted. On who? Your sister and her friends, the figure screamed. My sister and her friends? Asked Madelyn. Why? What did she ever do to you? They ruined me and my friends. Now we're going to kill them all, said the figure opened a nearby window. Madelyn looked and saw the castle out there. The man dragged her chair over to the window. I want you to look out the window and watch their end. You can't do that, Madelyn pleaded. I love my big sister. I need her. She's my whole world. Don't worry. Once your sister is gone, you shall be joining in the afterlife. The figure sinisterly smiled. What are you going to me after you kill my sister? Said Madelyn. You'll see. The figure smiled sinisterly. Chapter 16. A reunion gets drastic. Meanwhile, Fred and Daphne had survived the rockfall. Are you all right, Dapha? Asked Fred. Well, the good news is, this dress doesn't look any worse covered in 2 inches of dirt, said Daphne. And the bad news is, we're sealed in tight. Daphne looked around. She and Fred were trapped. Here, maybe if we, work together, said Fred, moving some rocks. We'll escape. Daphne and Fred moved some rocks out of the way. Gosh, all this digging is making me dizzy. Sealed in, airtight, getting woozy. Gotta dig through the... before we... Oh, said Fred, and he co-sulped. Fred, oh, Freddie. Oh no, gasped Daphne as she grabbed Fred. Meanwhile, Scooby and Shaggy were still being trapped on the table. Velma walked towards them with sharp tools. They had to escape and fast. But how? Then Shaggy had an idea. Tell me, Scoob, what are we good at the most? Asked Shaggy. Are you ning away? Asked Scooby. Yes, said Shaggy. But no. Hiding? Asked Scooby. Yes, but there's something else that we're really good at. said Shaggy. Eating, said Scooby. Yes, Shaggy nodded. You know us so well. Scooby and Shaggy quickly ate through the straps and they were free. Tastes like chicken, Shaggy chewed. Stop, shouted Velma. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo, shouted Scooby and Shaggy, and they ran away. Velma chopped the Frankencreep loose. You're not going to let your brain get away, are you? Get them, Velma ordered. The Frankencreep chased after Scooby and Shaggy out of the lab. However, while doing so, Scooby accidentally hit the Stritchbodden electro-wheel with his tail and set it off. Velma looked at it and suddenly, she was back to normal. Jinkies, she gasped. What am I doing? Meanwhile, Fred and Daphne were still trapped in the mine and trying to find a way to get out. Don't worry, Freddy. I'm gonna get us out of here, said Daphne as she dug. Wow, jeepers, getting a little woozy. Suddenly, Daphne rubbed her wrist against a rock. Ouch! She exclaimed. Wait, no ouch? That didn't hurt at all. Suddenly, air escaped her dress. Jeepers, I'm bleeding. What? This dress has an inflatable suit built into it. Daphne grabbed Fred. Fred, I'm still the same Daphne. Oh, and also, we won't suffocate. We've got fresh air. Huh? Fred woke up. Freddy, this suit isn't real. Do you know what this means? Daphne asked, cheerful. What? Asked Fred. Daphne started singing, I will survive. Then if we are going to do that, Freddy said, then let's finish removing the rocks. Fred and Daphne then cleared the rocks out of the way. Perfect timing. My hideous dress just ran out of air. Daphne sighed with relief. Oh, I've got to get out of this awful thing and back into my iconic attire. Yuck! Daphne took off her dress and put on her old clothes which she had with her, 'cause you never know when you'll need to change your clothes. Or get out of a stupid dress, Daphne added. Meanwhile, Shaggy and Scooby were still being chased by the Frankencreep. Shaggy and Scooby ran and they ran in a room. A library? Asked Scooby. Yeah, Scoob, it's the library, said Shaggy. And since old tall, scaly, and horrible doesn't have a brain, he probably doesn't have a library card either. But just in case, we better find every single secret entrance and barricade it. Yeah, said Scooby. That's a great idea. Shaggy and Scooby quickly found every single secret entrance and barricaded it. Woo! They sighed with relief. We did it, Scoob. Ha 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 ha, said Shaggy. He and Scooby sat down on the couch. However, there was one problem. Scooby, did we lock the door? Said Shaggy. I don't think we did, Scooby said. And at that moment, the Frankencreep burst in. Ah! They screamed. Like, run, Scoob, said Shaggy. I couldn't have said it better myself, Scooby added. He and Scooby got up, unbarricaded the one secret entrance they found, and went through it. At that same moment, Daphne and Freddy were running out of the mine. Boy, Daph, Fred panted. I can't believe how fast you're running in heels. What can I say? She asked. That Baron was trying to kill us. Plus, I want to get my gorgeous figure back. Shaggy and Scooby right into Fred and Daphne. Fred, Daphne, said Shaggy. Red, Raphne, said Scooby. Shaggy, Scooby, said Fred. Shaggy, Scooby, said Daphne. They all hugged. Like, are we ever glad to see you guys? Said Shaggy. Now let's get out of here. Yeah, I want to go home, Scooby added. No, I'm tired of running. I say we face down our fiendish foes once and for all, said Fred. If we run now, we'll never stop. Right on. Daphne gave a thumbs up. Why? Asked Shaggy. Wait, shouted a voice. The Baron, shouted Fred and Daphne. The monster, Shaggy and Scooby shouted. Neither, said the voice. Velma stepped into the light. Come with me if you want to live. Zoinks, Shaggy exclaimed. Jeepers, Daphne added. Rikes, Scooby added. Guys, it's just Velma, said Fred. We know, Shaggy, Daphne and Scooby shouted. Velma, Scooby and I can't let you get our brains, said Shaggy. Yeah, Scooby added. We need our brains. It took me too long to get my hair just right, Daphne added. No time. Hurry, said Iago, who was running towards Mystery Inc. Gas is everywhere, into the tunnels, and seeping up into the castle. We must flee the gas at once. Natural gas. That's why I passed out so fast, said Fred. But wait, isn't natural gas explosive? Jinkies, we've got to get out of here right now, Freddy, said Velma. No problem. I was working on something. It's a slim chance, but, Fred whistled. Huh? Fred. We'll never get a cab down here, said Shaggy. Oh, Shaggy, Fred can't be hailing a taxi. Use your brain, said Daphne. I am. Totally still using it, said Shaggy, looking at Velma. I'm sorry I tried to take your brains, guys, said Velma. I think I was hypnotized by a device disguised to look like an antique stitchbait and electro wheel. That's okay, said Scooby. Yeah, Velma. That could happen to anybody, said Shaggy. They gave her a hug. Suddenly 2 horses came in, carried a carriage. Well, what do you know? It worked, said Fred. And, presenting the all-new mystery machine, they all climbed around. Yeah, Fred whipped the horses, and the horse took off. And the amazing thing is, this gets better mileage than the old van, said Fred. Maybe you shouldn't mention it, Fred. Velma reminded him. That's okay, Velma. The mystery machine is still alive. In here, said Fred, touching his chest. Jinkies, Madelyn and Mrs. Vanders are probably still here somewhere. Velma gasped. Hurry, Fred. We've got to find them before it's too late. If something were to ignite this gas, this whole place will blow up. Yeah, but what could ignite it? Asked Shaggy. Suddenly flames started appearing out of nowhere. Oh no, the torches! They all shouted. Daphne, in we don't make. I'm sorry about what I said to you earlier. I didn't mean it, said Velma. What are you talking about? Asked Daphne. The insult back at the lab. Velma looked down. Oh, said Daphne. Daphne, you are beautiful. I am so sorry that I said you were ugly. I was hypnotized. Can you ever forgive me? Asked Velma. Sure, Velma. Daphne held out her arms. Come here, you. They shared a hug. More flames popped out. The carriage quickly served out of the way. Jinkies! Screamed Velma. Jeepers! Daphne shouted. Fred quickly steered the carriage out of the castle and into the moat right before the castle exploded. The villagers saw the explosion. They saw Velma's glasses land next to them. Those poor von Dinkenstein girls and all her friends. Kaput, said one villager. The von Dinkenstein curse. It is no more. Yeah! Everyone cheered. Inspector Crunch, Burgermeister, Mrs. Vanders, and the store owner were standing there watching. They saw the explosion. Woohoo! Our plan, it worked, said Inspector Crunch. Let's dance, said Mrs. Vanders. Yes, said Burgermeister. It is kaput, said the store owner. At the hut she was in, Madelyn watched in terror as the castle exploded. No! Velma, Shaggy, the other 3 guys! No! She sobbed. She rocked her chair around till it fell over. She landed with a thud. The figure watching her had left. There was no there who could pick her up. She laid it on the floor, sobbing. She had lost her sister and her friends, and nothing could make her feel better. A few minutes later, the strange came back in. He stood Madelyn's chair back up. Such a sad little face. He gloated. You killed my sister? Madelyn screamed and cried. She was my whole world. It was our mission. And as horrible as it was, I hope you can forgive me, said the figure. Madelyn kept sobbing. There, Madelyn. I know it hurts now, but soon you shall be joining them. There'll be a little bonfire in the square, and the mayor has invited me to attend. And I plan to bring you to the big event, said the figure, smiling evilly. Chapter 17. Survival of the Meddlingest. The castle had exploded into a zillion pieces, and it seemed like our heroes had died. However, something incredible and miraculous happened. They were alive. They had survived the explosion and landed in the water that was part of the moat. They arose out of the water and paddled to the shore. They were happy to be alive, although Velma was very sad. Daphne pulled out her spare glasses. "Thanks, Daphne," she sniffed. "We're alive!" Shaggy cheered. "Yeah, but Madelyn isn't," said Velma. "Hooray!" Shaggy cheered, then turned to Velma. "I mean, that's terrible." "Shaggy, don't you see how serious this is?" Daphne grabbed Shaggy by the shirt. "Madelyn is dead. You know Velma loves her more than anything. She was her whole world." "Yeah," Scooby agreed. "Show some respect. She's gone and it's because of me." Velma started to sob. "My baby sister is dead. Guys, this is all my fault. I did this to her. I never should have made you guys come here in the first place. I'm so sorry, Maddie. I'm a complete moron." Everyone looked at Velma with blank faces. "What?" Velma asked. "No objections? We're not going to argue with you when you're right." Fred put his hand on Velma's shoulder. "This is all your fault." "Fred." Daphne glared at him. "It'll be okay, Velma." "No, it won't." Velma started crying. "I love my baby sister. I need her. I can't live without her." Daphne hugged Velma as she cried onto her shoulder. "Overreacting!" Velma screamed. "I just lost my baby sister. She was my whole world. I loved her more than anything and anybody. And she's dead. The mystery machine was an inanimate object. Madelyn was a real person and my sister. You call that overreacting? You, sir, are being a boob." Fred, knowing when he was beaten, didn't say anything for a moment. "So Velma, if it makes you feel any better, I was a little out of sorts when I thought I lost my looks," said Daphne. "Excuse me?" Velma sniffled. "Velma, I deserved what you said to me," Daphne confessed, "about being ugly and disgusting and all. It made me realize how ugly people feel when they are reminded of being ugly. But I've got you guys, lots of money, and a roof over my head. And I thought of myself and how I looked. You didn't have to apologize." "Daphne's right," Freddie added. "I guess I was a little obsessed with the van that it was all I thought about. You just lost your baby sister." Daphne said, "And that's actually something worth crying about. I'm so sorry, Velma." "Gee, thanks, Daffy," said Velma. "I feel so much better, I guess." "Oh, Velma." Scooby hugged Velma. "You're so sweet, Scooby." Velma kissed his cheek. "So, what do we do now?" Shaggy asked. "I don't want to solve the mystery anymore, guys." Velma sniffed a tear. "I just want to go home." "Okay," said Shaggy. "Just what I was thinking." Scooby told Velma. "Hey, where's Iago?" asked Daphne. Iago was nowhere in sight. "He must have drowned," suggested Fred. "Oh no!" everyone screamed. "Poor guy," said Velma. "You heard what Velma said." Scooby told the gang, "Let's go home." "Okay, do you think they got the train fixed?" asked Shaggy. "Only one way to find out," said Freddie. "Come on!" Everybody ran out and headed for the train station. On the way over, they walked by a building and saw something. Daphne and Velma noticed of it. It was Mrs. Vander's. "Velma, look! It's Mrs. Vander's," said Daphne. "She survived the explosion." "Lucky," Velma remarked. "Oh no!" Freddie groaned. "Did she have to survive?" "There she is." Daphne pointed to her walking to Burgermeister. "She's with Burgermeister. They're going into that building," Velma whispered. "Let's follow them." They followed them into the building and saw them in a room with Inspector Crunch, the store owner who gave Daphne her dress, and someone they didn't expect. It was Madelyn. Velma gasped. "Madel." Scooby shut Velma's mouth. "Shut up, Velma," Fred whispered. "I want to hear this." "It's Madelyn. She's alive," Velma whispered. "How's my van looking now?" whispered Fred. Velma glared at Fred. "Sorry," he said. "Let's listen to what they're saying," said Daphne. Madelyn was still tied to her chair. The villains both laughed manically. "Hello, Von Dinkenstein girl." said Mrs. Vanders. Mrs. Vanders? Burgermeister? Inspector Crunch? Store owner? Madelyn exclaimed, "You killed my big sister and her friends? You'll pay for this." "I don't think so." Mrs. Vanders sinisterly smiled. "You're about to join your sister in the afterlife. We're going to have a little bonfire in town tonight." Burgermeister evilly said, "There you will suffer your slow and painful death." Madelyn's captors laughed manically. "Let's get ready." Burgermeister lifted Madelyn's chair, and they carried her to the door. The gang quickly ran out of the way. They watched the villains leave with Madelyn. "One of them must have been the Baron's ghost," said Fred. "And one of them must have blown up the van and the ones who sent us here," Shaggy added. "A brilliant deduction, Shaggy," Daphne said. "Right. I don't care who the Baron's ghost was. Nobody messes with my baby sister and gets away with it," Velma growled. "Don't worry, Velma. We'll save her," said Daphne. "We will," said Shaggy. "Yes, Shaggy." Daphne glared at him. "We will." "Oh, thank you, guys." Velma hugged Daphne. "Hang on, sis. We're coming." "I've got a plan," said Freddie. "No, Freddie," Velma said. "She's my baby sister and I got her into this mess, so I make the plan." "Oh, sure. Whatever." Freddie shrugged. Everyone huddled up together. "Okay," said Velma. "Here's the plan. We're going to get some blue paint, pour on ourselves, and scare Madelyn's captors." "That's the plan?" Daphne asked. "My hair will be ruined. I just did it." "Daphne," shouted Velma. "Fine, I'll do it," Daphne groaned. "Great. I'll take Burgermeister," said Velma. "I'll get the shop owner," said Daphne. "I'll scare Crunch," said Fred. I guess that means we'll take on Vanders." Shaggy said to Scooby, "Why do we always get the lame ones?" "I don't know." Scooby shrugged. "I guess it's 'cause they're easier for us." "All right," said Fred. "I'll follow them." He went after them. "Daphne, I need you to get me some paint," Velma told Daphne. "Where are we supposed to find paint?" Daphne put a hand on her hip. Shaggy picked up a bucket of paint. "Right here." "That's right, folks." Shaggy found a bucket of paint miraculously on the floor, 'cause you never know when you need to paint, or to use it for a plan to rescue your friend's sister. "Ready, Daphne?" Velma grabbed the bucket. "I guess." Daphne sighed. Velma started to dump the paint onto Daphne. "Why me?" Daphne sighed. Amateur sleuth, web host, aspiring model, and adoptive mother. Now I have a scary monster. What could be worse? "I can name a few things," Scooby said. "Whatever they are, don't say it," Daphne remarked. "Now we've got to find where they're going," said Freddie. "My guess is the town square," said Shaggy. "What makes you think that?" Velma folded her arms. Shaggy pointed at a sign that said "Bonfire in Town Square tonight." What a coinkydink. Velma looked at the sign. "Lucky guess." Daphne rolled her eyes. "Well, come on, guys." Velma ran. "We gotta go save Maddie. We're gonna get those mid-level freaks. We're gonna splat 'em." "Jeepers, Velma," Daphne said. "You're starting to sound like Scrappy." "Yeah, that's pretty weird," Scooby added. Chapter 18. Saving Madelyn. The whole village was gathered for the bonfire to celebrate Madelyn's soon-to-be demise. Burgermeister had tied her to a stake. "And now, my fellow Transylvanian brothers and sisters," Burgermeister shouted, "we now start the bonfire and destroy the very spawn of our sworn enemy." "Yay!" Everyone cheered. Madelyn got bonfire sticks at her feet. "You medieval freaks won't get away with this!" She snapped, tugging with the rope around her waist and wrists. "Oh, but we will!" Crunch sinisterly grinned. "We've already destroyed your friends. Now we are going to finish you off. Have fun in the underworld." Mrs. Vanders manically laughed, walking away. Naturally, Mystery Ingy was covered in blue paint and eavesdropping on these medieval miscreants. Daphne was in her hideous dress again. Shaggy and Scooby were back in their lederhosen. "Nobody messes with my sister but me," Velma said. "Those village idiots are going down for brainwashing me and endangering my sister." "Jeepers, Velma," Daphne said. Your big sister instincts sure have kicked in. I've never seen this side of you before, Scooby added. Okay, let's get to work, said Velma. And the gang went to work. Fred saw Crunch and threw a rock at him. Ouch! Who threw that? Crunch demanded. He walked over to where Scooby and the gang were. They were hiding behind some garbage cans. Fred popped up and shouted, Boo! Ha! Screamed Crunch. He ran off screaming with Fred chasing him. Burgermeister raised a large torch he lit up. And now we end the Von Dinkelstein family once and for all, he shouted. Hooray! The villagers cheered. No! Madelyn screamed. Just the torch was about to be lit on the pole, where Madelyn was being tied to. Crunch came into being chased by Fred. All the villagers ran. Madelyn looked confused. Fred? Meanwhile, Daphne found the store owner and scared her. I'd like to return this dress, she said. Eek, said the store owner. Daphne chased after her. Meanwhile, Velma appeared on the platform where Burgermeister and Madelyn were. Stop right there, Burgermeister, said Velma. Velma, said Madelyn. No, no, impossible. You will leave me alone. I demand it, said Burgermeister. The curse, the Von Dinkelstein curse, said Velma, grabbing Burgermeister's torch and tossing it to Fred. Ah, said Burgermeister. He ran off screaming. Velma ran over to the pole and untied Madelyn, who stared in shock. Velma, is it really you? Said Madelyn. Yes, sis, said Velma. Velma? Madelyn hugged her sister tightly. You're alive. I thought you were dead. I thought you were dead, said Velma, hugging her sister back. I thought you were dead too. Madelyn continued hugging Velma. Oh, Madelyn. Velma got tears of joy in her eyes. I'll never let you out of my sight again. Now let's bring these villagers down. Couldn't have said it better myself, sis, Madelyn agreed. Let's kick some Transylvanian bahookie. Meanwhile, Mrs. Vanders was walking down a street when suddenly Shaggy and Scooby appeared in their lederhosen covered in blue paint. Make us a snack, Shaggy moaned. We're hungry, Scooby said in a spooky tone. Hey! She screamed and ran for it. Meanwhile, Fred was still chasing Crunch. Come back, he moaned. No, Crunch gasped. Stay back, stay back. Fred kept chasing Crunch until he dogpiled right on him. I got him, gang. Fred got Crunch's arms. Daphne was still chasing the store owner. Get back here, you beauty stealer. Daphne ran after her. No getaway. The store owner panicked. Finally, Daphne dogpiled on the store owner. Gotcha! Daphne grabbed the owner's arms and legs. Shaggy and Scooby ran after Vanders. All right, old lady. Scooby ran after her. You're going down. Scooby-Doo. Shaggy pointed to Vanders. Sicker boy. You don't need to tell me twice. Scooby jumped and dogpiled right on Vanders. Way to go, Scooby-Doo. Shaggy gave a thumbs up. Fred and Daphne quickly grabbed some rope and tied Crunch's hands and the store owner's hands behind their backs. Shaggy and Scooby did the same with Vanders, while Velma and Madelyn captured Burgermeister. Looks like you've been tied. Fred pointed to the felons. Yeah, you've been hog-tied, Scooby added. That'll teach you to steal my beauty. Daphne folded her arms. We did it, sis, Velma told Madelyn. Yeah, we did, baby. Madelyn fist bumped Velma. They started doing a victory dance. We stopped them. We're bad. We're the greatest. We did it. Uh-huh, 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 uh-huh. What's going on? Asked Burgermeister. Let us go, snapped Crunch. Untie us right now, demanded the store owner. The gang poured water on themselves. You were faking all along, said Mrs. Vanders. Another mystery solved, said Daphne. Suddenly the gang heard a noise. Don't be sure, Daphne, said Shaggy. Suddenly the Frankencreep appeared coming towards them. Zoinks! Shaggy exclaimed. Rikes! Scooby jumped into Shaggy's arms. The Mossenter! Crunch gasped. It's real! Suddenly the monster's head opened. Inside the monster was Yago. Yago! Velma gasped. You're alive! Wait, you were the monster? Asked Freddy. No, said Iago, hopping out of the monster, losing his accent. "And my name is not Iago." Iago's back opened up, and out climbed a small man. "I'm Special Agent Schmidlap of the Department of Defense." He showed them some sort of badge. "The Department of Defense?" Scooby asked. "When did that get involved?" "You see, Scooby, one of our experimental exoskeletons designed to increase the strength of the infantrymen of the future was stolen from one of our research labs. I traced it to this town and went undercover in hopes of getting it back," Schmidlap explained. "And Velma, you also asked me a question? My Iago costume short-curetted in the water, and I had to repair it." "Continue," said Velma. "Come on out, guys," said Schmidlap. Some giant men in lederhosen appeared and took the costume. "Wait, you were the monster in the lab?" asked Shaggy. "No, Shaggy, that wasn't me. It was Burgermeister," said Schmidlap, pointing at Burgermeister. "But that's impossible," said Shaggy. "He was with the lab when the Frankencreep was unfrozen." "Ah, but that's because someone else was dressed like the Frankencreep at the time," Velma explained. "This is one mystery that doesn't have a culprit. It's a conspiracy man." "Right," Schmidlap said. "And that's why they hypnotized you, Velma." "So who hypnotized you and why?" Freddy asked Velma. "And how did Scooby and I become brave, not to mention full?" said Shaggy. "Like that was the weirdest feeling in the world." Wait. Most importantly, how on earth did I end up in an inflatable suit and become ugly and disgusting?" asked Daphne. Everyone glared at her. "Seriously?" asked Madelyn. "Daphne, this ain't about you." "Okay, I guess not," said Daphne. "But how'd you solve this mystery, Velma?" "First of all, Daphne, I'm not the one who solved this mystery. Fred is." Velma pointed to Freddy. "I am?" he asked, confused. "I mean, I am. Could you please explain how I did it? You said it when the mystery machine exploded. This time it's personal." And it was personal. Velma explained. "A personal attack on the Scooby Gang," said Velma. "And here's who's really begging this." She pulled Crunch's mustache and helmet. Some glasses fell on his face. "Cuthbert Crawley?" asked the gang. "Velma, why would our family lawyer want to destroy us?" asked Madelyn. "He's not our family lawyer, Madelyn. We've never seen him before." Velma took off his glasses. "He's really Cuthbert Crawls, the partner of Cosgood Creeps." "Cuthbert Crawls!" Shaggy exclaimed. "You and Cosgood Creeps were those creepy attorneys that dressed up as the green ghosts." Reen roasts," said Scooby. "What kind of ghosts would travel hundreds of miles to haunt a lawyer's office anyway?" asked Velma. "It's true. I wasn't there to scare you off," said Crawls. "I was there to draw you in." "I should have known," Velma exclaimed. "Everyone knows we can't resist a mystery. The so-called Baron's curse was supposed to take away the things we loved and cared about most. The first victim, Fred, had to lose the mystery machine, his pride and joy." "Yeah," Madelyn added. "The curse started to take effect before we went near the Baron's castle. The next victim was Daphne, who started puffing up thanks to her shellfish allergy." Velma continued. "She had no way of knowing that she was slipping into an inflatable suit." And next up were Scooby and Shaggy, whose suits were also rigged, but with acupuncture needles concealed carefully inside. The pressure points not only suppressed hunger, they also created a false sense of courage, giving them the confidence to chase after the monster. And me, I was hypnotized by Mrs. Vanders into believing I could recreate my uncle's experiment, which I did. At least I thought I did. Enough to create a diversion for one of the conspirators, dressed as the monster to switch places with the lifeless dummy. "Wow, that's pretty crazy," said Madelyn. "And clever. You went through a lot of trouble to scare us off. But what was the treasure you were trying to scare us off from?" asked Freddy. "This time it wasn't about money, Fred," said Velma. "It was about us. They wanted to kill us. Weren't you paying attention?" "Huh?" asked the gang. "But why would you want to do such a thing to us? We don't even know who you people are," said Daphne. Don't be so sure, Daphne, said Velma. Pull on Burgermeister's beard and hat. You'll see. Daphne pulled off Burgermeister's beard and hat. Jeepers! Burgermeister is really C.L. Magnus, the shipping magnate who masqueraded as Redbeard's ghost, said Daphne. And as for our mysterious gypsy, Velma removed the store owner's headband. Lila? Asked the gang. Yes, aspiring pop singer Lila, who was one of Mamba Wamba's zombies, said Velma. That means Mrs. Vanders isn't really a housekeeper, said Fred, pulling off her face. It's Mama Mione. You pretended to be old Iron Face. Jeepers, of course. I should have recognized the Baron's mask, said Daphne. Like I told you it looked familiar, said Shaggy. I guess even criminals recycle. You get it. Recycle, ha 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 ha. Rye don't get it, Scooby said. Who would have thought there'd be a conspiracy of people determined to kill my sister and her friends? Asked Madelyn. Are you kidding? Everyone they've ever busted wants revenge. We were turning people away in droves, said Mama Mione. We fiended each other on the Mystery Inc. Revenge social networking page, said Lila. You wouldn't believe how many yikes it gets on a daily basis. The gang checked their phones. Let's see. Velma read the matches. Teen Angels, Neptunes, Chan Clan, Funky Phantom, Speed Buggy and Friends. Aha! Mystery Inc. Revenge. It took us months, but once we found out about Dinkley's family, we pooled our resources and bought the castle, said Magnus. Then we slowly insinuated ourselves into the town with our chosen identities, continued Crawls. Imagine our joy when we discovered the natural gas pockets under the estate. The castle became one enormous death trap, finished Magnus. And we would have gotten our revenge on you meddling kids, shouted Crawls. And your dog, Megan's added. If it weren't for you meddling kids, added Mama Mione. And your dog, added Lila. And Dinkley's sister, added Crawls. And Agent Schmilap, finished Mama Mione. Chapter 19. Epilogue. The following day, all the villagers were cheering for Velma and Madelyn. Jeepers! Velma, you and Madelyn really won the villagers over, said Daphne. I guess they really appreciate you proving once and for all that there's no such thing as the von Dinkenstein curse. Good job. Actually, Daphne, they're not cheering because of the curse, Velma said. Madelyn and I gave them the land rights to the natural gas. You what? Asked Scooby. It's the least we could do after what my ancestors put them through, said Madelyn. But just so you know, we ain't ever coming back here. Well, gang, the wagon's all set to go. It should only take us about 27 hours to get to the next town, said Fred, dusting off the new mystery machine. Not so fast, Fred, said Agent Schmidlap arrived. The Department of Defense really appreciates all of your help in recovering the prototype and, well, we have a little surprise for you. He removed a curtain and relieved the old mystery machine. The mystery machine, the gang shouted. My baby! Fred ran over to his van and hugged it. I thought I'd never see you again. Oh, come to Papa. Daphne slapped her forehead. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, thank you, said Fred, hugging Schmidlap. Get off! Schmidlap pushed Fred away. How do you think he pieced it back together? Asked Velma. It was totally destroyed and kaput. Who cares? Asked Daphne. Fred, why don't you take her for a spin? Schmidlap gave him the keys. You may find a few hidden extras on her courtesy of the Department of Defense. Come on, gang, said Fred. Let's get this show on the road. Yee-haw! Shaggy jumped up. The gang hopped in the van and drove home. There's just one last thing I don't understand, Velma, said Daphne. How did you know the curse was a fake? Easy, Daphne, said Velma. The Baron's curse said that the victims would lose what they loved the most, and then be utterly destroyed. Meaning? Scooby, Shaggy, Daphne, and Freddy asked. Guys, don't you see, asked Madelyn, of all the things we lost, beauty, confidence, voracious appetites, logic, none of it was what we loved and cared for the most, because we love each other the most. Oh, said the gang, that's so nice. I knew you cared Shaggykins. Madelyn hugged Shaggy's arm. Scooby and Shaggy were in the back eating the sausages. Acupuncture or no acupuncture, I can't believe we ever passed up on this awesome Blutenwurst. Shaggy kept eating. I know, hee. It's delicious, said Scooby. You know, Scoob, one thing this little adventure did teach me was that we can be just as brave as anyone. Shaggy said. Yeah, said Scooby, we can. And from now on, you and I will be the fearless furry twosome, said Shaggy. Deal. Scooby gave a thumbs up. So you guys are going to give me a ride back home? Madelyn asked. I love you, Velma. Madelyn hugged Velma. You're the bestest big sister in the world. Aw, thank you. Velma hugged her back. And you're the bestest baby sister ever. Suddenly, Fred noticed a red button. That's odd. I never noticed this button before. He looked at the button. It must be one of the surprises that Agent Schmidlup mentioned, said Velma. Let's see what it does, said Fred. Oh, Freddie, I don't know about that, said Daphne. Velma looked at the others. What the heck? Velma shrugged. Go for it, baby. Fred pressed the button, and the van shot into the air. Ha! Whoa-ho-ho, said the gang. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, shouted Scooby-Doo. After a few loop-de-loops and zooms, Scooby and the gang landed right at the bus station back home in Coolsville. Boy, that was a wild ride. Shaggy picked himself up. But I don't think I feel so good. Scooby looked dizzy. Don't think about it. Daphne pulled her purse away. I just got this cleaned out. Well, this is where I get off, Madelyn said, and in the nick of time. Madelyn got out of the van and headed towards the bus. It was great seeing you again, Madelyn, said Freddie. Rear it was, Scooby added. We couldn't have done it without you, baby sis. Velma hugged Madelyn. No problem. Madelyn turned to Shaggy. Did you enjoy seeing me, Shaggykins? Shaggy got nervous. Well, Madelyn, your bus is waiting. Fred pointed to the bus. Well, I gotta go, gang. Madelyn said, I'll see you guys soon. Bye, Maddie. Velma hugged her sister. Bye, sis. Madelyn hugged Velma back and turned to Shaggy. Shaggy, honey, will you please walk me to the bus? Shaggy then saw a can of silly string and glove compartment in the back of the van. Sure. He got a sneaky look. I'll walk you to the bus. Jeepers, Shaggy. I didn't think you'd actually be willing to walk Madelyn, Daphne said. That's really nice of you, Raggy, Scooby pointed out. You're so sweet, Shaggy. Velma batted her eyelashes. Walking my baby sister to the bus. I sure am. Shaggy made a sneaky smile, while he secretly put the can of silly string in his back pocket. Madelyn held Shaggy's hand, and they walked over to the bus. Shaggy secretly snickered. He was gonna walk Madelyn to the bus and then spray her whole face with silly string. They finally arrived at the bus. I had a great time solving the mystery with you Shaggykins. She made a flirty smile. And the best is yet to come. Shaggy made an evil grin. You mean, like a goodbye kiss? Madelyn asked. Sure. Shaggy secretly took the silly string can out of his pocket. Madelyn closed her eyes and puckered up her lips. Shaggy shook the can and was about to spray it at Madelyn when all of a sudden, Madelyn grabbed Shaggy's head. Come here, baby. Madelyn smothered Shaggy's entire face with 1,000,000 times and then fiercely kissed him on the lips. Finally, she pulled away and quickly kissed him on the lips again and walked into the bus. You should have seen the looks on the passenger and the driver's faces. They awed at Shaggy and Madelyn's romantic scene. Then, the bus drove off. Bye, Shaggy. I love you. Madelyn blew kisses to Shaggy, who was in shock and speechless from the kissing. Shaggy dropped the can and walked back to the mystery machine. Raggy? Scooby asked his master. Yoo-hoo. Shaggy, are you okay? Velma asked. Gang. He started to talk. I'm more than okay. ... I quote ... in love. Scooby just said one thing. Scooby, Dooby, Doo. The end.